Okay. Oh, and are we good to go?
Yep, we are.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the planning board meeting for June 6, 2023. My name is Carrie Martinek. I'm chair of the planning board. Before we get started, I have a few announcements to read. This open meeting of the planning board is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to ending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 29, 2023. All members of the planning board are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The act allows the planning board to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of the meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting may feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Bill Pierce?
Here.
Amy Pretsky?
Here.
Millie Milton?
Here.
Anthony Zeiton?
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Laurie Connors?
Here.
Fred Litchfield?
Here.
Great. Ground rules for the meeting. The chairs will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the board will be conducted by roll call vote. For public comment by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized by the chair. Please note party or phone number will be visible to those viewing the meeting. By Zoom, click raise hand on the bottom of your screen and wait to be recognized by the chair. The chair will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, the chair will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. And that concludes the announcements for this evening. With that, we will get started. First on the agenda is the continued public hearing for 317 Crawford Street, site plan approval for site disturbance of 42,500 square feet of land area. There's been a request to withdraw without prejudice. Is there any further information that we should share, Lori?
No, I just had a simple email from the consultant asking on behalf of Vadim Lutzko, who is the applicant, to withdraw without prejudice.
Okay, so then the board would need to vote to approve the withdrawal without prejudice. Is that the correct process?
It is.
Okay, is there a motion to withdraw the application for 317 Crawford Street site plan approval for the site disturbance of 42,500 square feet of land area to withdraw without prejudice?
I make a motion to withdraw without prejudice.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, Bill?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Millie?
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
And carries an aye. Okay, next on our agenda, we had Judy Barrett, the discussion regarding the initial analysis for the MBTA communities. However, she's unable to join us until 7:30 this evening. So what I'm going to do is move down the agenda and then either we will break and wait. If we get through the rest of the items on our agenda, we'll either break and come back when Judy's available at 7:30, or we'll hopefully time it and hit that 7:30 time frame right as she's available. In terms of what we speak to next, Lori, is there a difference? Well, it's 605, I guess the 305 and 309 Main Street, discussion of proposed drive-through restaurant. Are there any attendees from that applicant available?
Yes, there are. James Tetzler is here.
Okay. Let's see. So we have James. Oops. There he is. Okay, and then anyone else?
To chair, there may be other attendees, but I think I may be the only one presenting.
Oh, okay. It looks like Tom Reardon. Is he on your team?
Yes, he is.
Okay, great. I'll bring Tom in.
As well as Sam Lofa.
Oh, Sam was? Okay, great. I wasn't sure. So let's see. Sam. Oops, there we go. Okay, anyone else? James, on your team that you want to bring over?
I don't think so.
Okay, great. So obviously this is going before the ZBA. It looks like the end of June. Is that right, Laura? June 27th meeting for the ZBA?
That's correct, June 27th, with the
Great,
public
so-
hearing will begin that evening.
Great. So I'm sure as the applicant knows, it's under the jurisdiction of the ZBA, but in our bylaws, the planning board does just a technical review and provides any feedback if need be via a memo to the ZBA, just depending on hearing a little bit more about the project. And if you allow the board to ask some questions, that'd be great. James,
Sure.
will you be presenting?
Sure. Does anyone want to share screen, or would I be able to share screen, or?
Oh, does he have the ability, does James have the ability to share screen? Let me see. If not,
If somebody there did it with the site plan, that'd be perfectly fine.
okay, let's see. So let me pull up the materials. Let's see. So I have 305, 309 Main Street, just site plan. Is that the right one you want me to bring up, or did you want to speak to
Sure.
any other?
Sure, site plan is good.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to pull that up. And I'm going to share my screen. Oops, I can't really see. Okay, do you guys see site plan of land at 309 Main Street here?
Yes.
All right, great. So James, where would you like to?
Oh, why don't you'd stop there for now at the existing conditions. Again, we have filed an application for a special permit with the Zoning Board of Appeals. And what you see in front of you is the existing conditions plan. This is the piece of land. It's in the Business East zoning district, which covers the land on the north side of Route 20 from Bartlett Street to the intersection with the more easterly intersection with Main Street. There's an existing building on site, which we're not proposing to alter, which has previously been used as a restaurant, the Texas Barbecue, I believe. And I guess right now, the site has that building with, I guess I could politely say, precious little adornment, and a sort of bare bones parking area, and no landscaping or other niceties or improvements of aesthetics to the site. And I guess I'll ask you to jump ahead a sheet or two. Chair, please.
Sure.
This shows the site layout of what we're proposing. Again, using that same existing building, utilizing that same existing access onto Route 20, but narrowing it some. Mass DOT doesn't like double-barreled and extra width entrances, and creating new parking spaces here, and creating a drive-through, creating a drainage system where none exists now. And I would ask you to jump ahead about 2 or 3 sheets to the landscaping plan, just to show you. Yep, there's grading. And
Oh, sorry. Oops.
you were just about to.
Uh-oh, hold on. I've done it now. Here we go.
Okay. Just one more sheet.
Oops, there we go.
There we go. Yeah. And the project landscape architect developed this landscaping plan. We've now been in front of the design review committee and got their input, as well as the town planners. We're going to refine this a bit, add a few more trees. We were already proposing 30 some odd trees. We're going to bring that up to 41, along with 110 shrubs and some ground cover plants as well. Again, this is going to be a beautiful site in the future, where again now it's one of the things that you see when you are first driving into Northborough from Marlborough, and somewhat of an eyesore, and now it will be in the future a beautiful site. You see a lot of landscaping proposed along East Main Street, where right now you may say, well, Jesus, there's a lot of trees there now. Those trees are, actually, a lot of those trees are bittersweet branches. And they're actually, the trees themselves are in very poor shape. But the bottom line is, we're gonna utilize that existing building. We're gonna narrow the entrance onto Route 20. We're gonna utilize the existing septic system, water and electrical connections. We're gonna add an entrance onto East Main Street at the north side of the property. After our initial discussion with the town engineer and town planner, we were advised to make sure that that is not a straight shot through, which would encourage anybody to use it as a cut through. And we're going to create additional parking spaces on site above and beyond what's there now. And we're going to be able to handle that drainage wise, because right now there really is effectively nothing happening for drainage. Water simply puddles up until it goes out the culvert under Route 20 that directs flow to the south side of Route 20. We're going to have a drainage system with infiltration, meeting DEP stormwater management standards, and water will be controlled in the future. And just as a quick aside, this is mentioned in the zoning interpretation that was prepared for this by the building inspector. There are no wetland areas on site. The nearest wetland is on the south side of Route 20, where that culvert discharges. So we don't have an issue with dealing with that on this site. As I say, we've been in front of design review. We've gotten a lot of excellent feedback about a couple of especially good refinements in regard to sidewalk and some of the plantings. And we think this is going to be an excellent improvement of the site, a site that is now somewhat of an eyesore, and will be something that people drive into the town and see a very attractive property and a going business, as opposed to the site that had become a rundown, again, something of an eyesore. So in summary, we're using the same building, using the access onto Route 20, adding an access onto East Main Street, using the same utilities as the existing building. The applicant is proposing for this to be an ice cream and beverage serving restaurant with no indoor seating, walk-up service, and again, possible drive-through service. It's not going to be just a different sort of cuisine than the Texas barbecue, with folks going inside and having something else instead of barbecue. It's going to be a different sort of facility, and the applicant has really worked out in kind of minute detail about how things will work inside for efficiency. But it's going to be, as I say, an ice cream and beverage service. And I'm probably forgetting stuff that that'll come up in questions, but I guess I'll just leave it at that and ask if there are any questions.
Okay, board members, any questions from you? Bill?
I just have one. So I love that you're going to do this. I think this is needed not only in town, but for this particular site as well. My biggest concern is if you have traffic coming in from East Main Street and from Route 20, how are you going to handle the conversion of those cars coming into a single lane drive-through? What's the plan for that? I'm concerned that the cars are going to end up backing up onto East Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Well, right now the drive-through, as shown, is showing queuing for 9 cars, which you can see could actually increase to 11 cars before there would be any disruption of entrance from East Main Street. Quite honestly, every business owner hopes that his property is used and is popular to the extent that he's almost bursting at the seams. But we think that, again, possibly 11 cars worth of queuing is sufficient. Along with, again, we're providing parking in excess of the minimum requirements here. Again, there's not indoor sit-down service. And we're providing 34 parking spaces where The bylaw only technically requires, I believe, about 12.
Right. And to me, that makes sense. I don't know if you're familiar with what happened in Marlboro with the Raising Cane when it opened, but that traffic was backed up onto Route 20 and backed up for about a quarter mile. Now, granted, that's their grand opening. I hope your grand opening goes just as well, but it does concern me from a planning point of view, right? That we don't want traffic backed up all the way up East Main Street. And then you've got the conversion of the two sets of vehicles coming into the same drive-through lane.
Yes, that's correct. A vehicle may come and enter into the site from Route 20 at the same time as a vehicle enters into the site from East Main Street. I guess we're just hoping to deal with that by having quite a lot of queuing and a lot of spaces.
That would be a concern for me.
Yeah, that's a big concern for me. Not dealing with that and having some way to converge those lines nicely, because you're going to be relying on your patrons, and we know sometimes when you get the kids in the back yelling for ice cream, and the parents are frustrated waiting in line, and now they've got a zipper basically is what you're supposed to do, but no one ever does that. So that would be my only concern. Other than that, I think this looks great.
Other questions? Millie, did you have something else with that?
Actually, I do, because where is there a walk-up window, or is you don't have inside dining? I'm assuming you have a walk-up window.
Yes, if you look immediately on the right side or east side of the building as shown there, you see a little notation of concrete walk.
Yes.
The windows are just to the south of that. So where the arrow is, go just a few feet south, and that's where the walk-up windows are, correct. And just to the left, move the arrow just to the left, and that's where the walk-up windows will be.
So, but it looks like if they have to go to the picnic tables, then they're crossing either a drive-through parking area or a driving area. I see that
that was actually one of the points of excellent feedback that we got right away from the design review committee, was suggesting that we instead have the crosswalk go from the southeast corner of the building, crossing the pavement to, I guess, towards where you see an indication, you see the word lawn. So that great minds think alike. You raised the same point as the design review committee.
Okay, go that way. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and we will be making that change. That just isn't reflected yet on this version of the site plans.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think. Are you going to have any one-way notations coming out of that area? Things like that.
So there will be additional signage for the motorists leaving the window, advising them that they're approaching potential pedestrian traffic.
And you're saying a possibility of a drive-through. This is not a definitive.
No, I should say it is definitive. The intention absolutely is that the drive-through be constructed.
Okay.
I misspoke if I.
I'm assuming drive-throughs are allowed in this part of town. I actually didn't check through on that.
It is allowed in the Business East zoning district as part of the special permit.
Okay.
So that's what they're asking the ZBA for, is a special permit for the drive-through.
Okay, so it's not allowed as a right. It's allowed with it's a special permit. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Other board questions?
I agree with the drive-through traffic coming in from both sides. That looks, and then the people parking way over on the east, they're gonna have to walk through the traffic coming from East Main and Route 20.
Sorry, Melly, go ahead.
I'm just curious, has there been any thought to making it kind of all a one way in, one way out? Does that make any sense? but
I don't think we've investigated that, but we will give it some thought.
Is there, so this entrance from East Main, there is no such current entrance, it's one that you're creating, is that what's happening?
That's correct.
And is there a reason for that? Do you envision that a lot of traffic will come off East Main, or, I mean, maybe if you didn't have this entrance, it would solve that problem, it would keep it pretty clean, just in and out one way.
I think, I think we were trying to also accommodate, like some of the kids leave the Little League game. Just a little to the half mile to the west of here. And that way somebody just drives along on East Main Street and pulls in here. They don't have to get out onto Route 20 and go through the light and then make a left across traffic. I think that was part of it. And I should also point out, it's not super clear here on the landscaping plan, but we're bringing a crosswalk out to East Main Street to try and invite in folks from the Little Pond Road neighborhood and that area.
Got it. Just a couple, do any of the board members have questions? Anything, Anthony or Amy?
Well, I think there were sidewalks that were a big concern by design review. And Lori had pointed it out in her memo. And has the applicant agreed to put all the sidewalks in that were requested?
What we're gonna do is bring the sidewalks to the entrances from the corner of Bartlett Street and Route 20, where one sidewalk ends, and from the adjacent property to the west, where another sidewalk ends. That will bring pedestrians to the site on both sides. Beyond that, we'd be bringing folks over to the intersection of East Main and 20, where traffic kind of zooms off, treating it as a bit of an off ramp, and we're not excited about doing that.
Okay. Oh, do you have something else, Amy?
Well, Lori, did that cover everything we were talking about, or we were talking about the one on? Does that cover all the sidewalks?
Yeah, I mean, what I'd be super excited to see is the sidewalk along East Main, because right now it ends at the driveway of the property next door. And the extension of the sidewalk into the site from the intersection of Bartlett and Route 20. So we've talked about it quite a bit outside of the meeting. And it's my understanding that the applicant has agreed to do that. I don't think it's important for them to go around the peninsula. I don't really see that there would be a lot of need to go around the peninsula. And if people were interested in doing that, and they weren't interested in buying ice cream, then I imagine they could just cut through the parking lot and nobody would have a problem with that. And they could get to East Main from doing that.
And I just want to reiterate, Lori, the town planner's point. The applicant has agreed to make those sidewalk extensions to the two entrances on East Main and on Route 20.
Okay. My other concern too was, like they said, with the drive-through flowing out onto East Main. And if I was thinking a condition, if the ZBA decides to approve it, there could be a condition that if there becomes a problem with traffic and cars, then the applicant is in charge of hiring a police detail if it goes out into the street.
Sure.
Other questions or comments?
Yeah, Carrie, I have one more.
Sure.
So the walkway in front of where the windows are going to be, what's the distance there between the parking lot and the windows?
It is 15 feet. It's not on that sheet, but it is on the grading plan sheet G3. It's 15 feet.
And I'm assuming you're going to be putting posts there so that cars can't accidentally, because that's where people are going to be standing.
We're actually going to, we talked, that was one of the points of discussion at a work session with the planner. Previously, I think we're going to end up doing wheel stops on those spaces.
The post might work better. I agree with you, Bill.
Yeah. Wheel stops can still go, people can still go up and over them accidentally.
Mm.
And I'm just concerned with people standing right there. They're unprotected.
When you say post, you're suggesting a bollard?
Yeah.
Something higher visible.
And I almost would like to have, only handicap parking on that side to try to limit how many cars are going to be pulling in right in the front there. I mean, 15 feet isn't an awful lot of space if you have a line of people.
Sure, but we'd like to give people at least credit for the line bending left or right where there's going to be quite a bit of space, again, sort of north or south from the window after the first person or two waiting.
Right, but then you've got people waiting for their food, for their ice cream as well.
Yep.
So, you could end up with a lot of people congregated right in that 15-foot rectangle.
And then with people coming off the drive-through. Wait, where does drive-through traffic come out? They're gonna scoot out this way?
Correct.
Yeah, so that limits how far south somebody could stand.
What is that space behind the building? It's concrete pad, right?
That's paved. There's gonna be a freezer there. There's gonna be delivery. It's kind of utility for the employees and for management.
Okay.
And the other question I would have is where is on the east side there, is that your dumpster?
Correct. At the far east end of the parking.
Okay.
I assume that you'll have trash bins over by the picnic tables and things like that?
Yeah, just normal trash barrel or whatever turns out to be the best setup.
Okay.
What, is this an outdoor freezer? What is, or you're just noting there's a freezer in this area?
He's just noting it's going to be in that area. I think we've actually gone through a couple iterations of the exact sizing of it. It's going to be a walk-in freezer. Again, with the site being an ice cream and beverage place, there's going to be need for keeping a significant amount of ice cream on site.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you'd walk in from the outside into the freezer?
Yes. I think there will be a door in the middle of the north side of the building. And the freezer would be off to the right of that if someone just leaving the north side.
What about, just a couple questions for me. Do you anticipate, I guess because it's offset like this, maybe it wouldn't be the case, like anybody using this as a cut through for cars? I'm trying to think of what that looks like now. Is there any motivation to use that as a cut through? Probably not, because you have the light right there at the corner.
Yeah, that's just it. We think that having the light right there means that you're not going to gain much out of it.
Yeah.
I drive through there all the time now. Where I work the office was moved. And I find myself coming to this intersection all the time, and I'm 3 cars deep, 4 cars deep. I mean, maybe there's times where it's more, but I just haven't seen it. But I guess I don't see a huge impetus for, oh geez, I'm gonna drive a couple 100 yards down the road and then zigzag through this to make this turn that I'm gonna be able to make pretty easily anyways. That Bartlett Street intersection light really runs fairly well.
Yeah. And this, I see the existing Butters barn. What is in this? What's right here? I'm trying to picture it behind.
it's a mixed-use building, and it's actually about 9 to 10 feet higher than our property. The drive-through lane grades would be around 287. And if you go on to the abutting property, to the parking area on our side of the building, the grades are 296, 297. So it's 9 to 10 feet higher. But that existing barn is really sort of I kind of joke about it as the rocket ship garage. If you drive by and take a look at it, it's it's got a garage door for access, and it's got a sort of a very pointed roof, and but it's effectively a storage / garage space for that mixed use building next door.
Okay, and where would the sign go?
The sign, that's where you've got the you mean the overall sign for the building or for the drive-through folks?
Or no, the business sign, is that something?
Okay, look to the southwest of where the cursor is now, where you see lawn.
Mhm.
And just beyond that, you see a little rectangle. That's the
Oh, okay.
existing sign.
Okay,
And we would use that same base and same structure to the degree that we can.
okay. And what about for any sort of, Laura, I saw this in your memo about the existing mature trees. What do you envision really taking down over there? Is this all,
Well-
these are the existing evergreens here?
No, that's the neighbor's trees. We can't.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at okay.
All the what unfortunately, actually, after that last informal work session with the town planner, we actually brought in an arborist and had him look at a couple of the trees that we thought might be possible to save amongst all the trees along East Main Street. And the problem, unfortunately, is that the bittersweet is and the invasives are so advanced there, and they've so, I guess you'd say, choked out
Mhm.
the existing trees, that what he told us was that really none of the trees at this point, unfortunately, are worth saving. And again, there were two that Lori had said, there's a couple of trees that might be worth it still. Only the arborist told us, they're all in kind of a degraded state. And that's, again, is partly why we have so much landscaping proposed. Again, we're going to end up with 41 trees and 110 shrubs, is to, after taking out all the bittersweet along East Main Street, we're going to have to do a hell of a lot of planting to replace it and create buffer and make it look nice.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions?
Can you just zoom out on that map at all? Because I'm just curious, what's the line? Is that you have two lots together here?
Correct. The sort of the parcel, smaller one at the intersection of Bartlett and Route 20 is 305 Main Street, and the applicant owns that one as well as the larger one to the east. That
Okay.
includes the building and the proposed parking.
Okay,
And that one at 305 is where the septic system leaching area is.
okay, all right. And is that going to be lawn around the picnic tables, or is that going to be gravel?
Correct. What you see there is some, if you look along the Route 20 frontage there, you see some proposed landscaping plantings of shrubs and ground covers. So there will be some additional plantings, but it's lawn now, and it mostly will remain lawn in the future.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay.
The
Laura-
design review had asked for a street view. I didn't know if you had a chance to put that together.
I think it was Tom is here, but I forget whether it was the architect or the landscape architect was going to try and do that, and I think that's still in progress.
Okay.
Oh, Tom, go ahead. I can't see everybody's hand at the same time. So Tom, did you have
Yes.
something there?
Thank you. Lars is working on a combined building and landscape view from Main Street looking west. So that's in the works.
Great. And
Tom,
Sam,
do you
did
know,
have
have they looked at, there was a big sign on the side of the building. Have they narrowed down what that sign is going to be like?
Well, that orange, it's a really section of wall, and a
Mhm.
sign will be placed on that. And that the signage is being developed now by the graphic design artist. So that's in the works as well.
Harry,
Okay.
I can, if you would like, I can bring up the elevation drawing so
Oh,
you can see
sure.
what the building will look like.
Sure. And then Sam, did you have something? I'm sorry, I can't always see when someone has their hand up when I share my screen. Did you also want to share something, Sam?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, when you were inquiring about where people were standing, this is a better image to look at.
Oh, okay.
If you look at the walk-up windows, you will not be waiting in line once you place your order. You will walk around to the front and pick up your order over there. So it will be expedited very quickly and it'll go around the corner, pick it up, and then head in the direction, whether it's back to your car or the seating area outside. So when you guys were asking about the line at the 15-foot sidewalk, you won't be waiting. You'll place your order, you'll leave, and then pick it up on the other side.
Got it. Okay. So Lori, you're sharing your screen now. This is the,
So this is the view. So this view right here with the sign, this would face Route 20. So we don't have any elevation drawings of what the other view will be, so the rear view. So I can't share that with you. So this will face the parking lot, this side, and this side will face Route 20.
any comments or questions? Okay. Lori and Fred, I know obviously you'll have the ZBA meeting to further ask questions, but there's anything else you want to ask or add here?
You know, a lot of the comments that I had pertain to the regulations and certain things that were missing from the plans and requests for clarification. So there was nothing in my comment letter that I viewed as a fatal flaw. So I'm confident that they'll be able to address my concerns with the future revisions.
Okay, Tom, did you have something there?
Yes, if you did want to see the other exterior elevations, if you go down, Lori, to drawing 3 or 4.
Oh, okay.
It-
Oh, there we go.
Those are the two other, that's the south and east. And if you go down one more drawing, that's the, where the future freezer would be in the rear, and then the drive-up window on the west. So that's the 4 views.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, I do see a hand up. It looks like Yusuf, you have your hand up, and just so that everyone's aware, this is a ZBA application. I'm happy to hear any comments, but anything definitely should go to the ZBA for consideration as part of the approval process. But what, Yusuf, if I'm going to allow you to talk here, did you have something you want to share on this?
I just wanted to say real quick, sorry, Stephanie Youssef.
Oh, hi, Stephanie.
5 Johnson Ave. Hi, Carrie. Sorry, I just wanted to say, I agree that I'm actually kind of excited. This is obviously in walking distance from my house. I don't have little ones anymore, but I would just reiterate that I agree that it looks concerns about little ones going through the parking lot with people coming in from East Main Street especially, and then the cars coming out of the drive-through with people crossing over to the picnic area. That's concerning to me. Again, I don't have little ones, and personally it probably won't affect me, but I could see bad things possibly happening, but that's all.
Yeah, that's great feedback. Thank you for that. And definitely if you wanted to share that at the ZBA official hearing is June 27th, and it sounds like the board had that concern as well. So thank you for that. Okay, are there any, in terms of any sort of proposed conditions that this board would want to suggest to the ZBA or any feedback? Is there any sort of memo that we would want to put together on this application or comments or
So Sama. Now I'm,
anything that we would want to would suggest as a condition to the board?
I mean, I would go back to my one, if the ZBA allows the drive-through and there becomes a problem with cars like out onto Route 20 or East Main Street, then the applicant will be in charge of hiring a police detail. I've seen that at different buildings, where they have to have a police detail if it becomes a problem.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Something to that effect. Or what we've done on other applications, I remember on Cedar Hill, we were concerned about the backup into that street was difficult for the soccer place over there. We put in the condition that after X period of time, they had to come back, and if there was no issue on the street with, street overflow, fine, no worries. But if that was a problem, it at least gave a trigger for them to come back and kind of reassess what was going on there. Like the special permit was given a time of, a year or 6 months or whatever we put on that one. Do you guys remember that on Cedar Hill?
Yep. And I think that's reasonable.
I'd agree.
I kind of like Bill's suggestion of maybe putting up some, I don't know, split rail just to really define the waiting area, the ordering area from the parking area.
Mhm.
I also think
A visible one.
Right, and I also think accidents can happen, with people not paying attention or going too fast or coming off the road. And if you've got
Yeah.
people kind of standing around the building, I think they should be better protected.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'd be excited to have ice cream place in town.
So we're gonna have both comments about the police detail and the year coming back for discussion? Are we doing one or the other?
I mean, maybe we put both for consideration for them to think about as just some different options of how to do. It sounds like this board is just concerned about some safety issues with that. And maybe we suggest, here are some things we've done in the past that may help alleviate some of those safety concerns there, because it does look like a lot happening in that. small
Right.
space.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything where we need like special striping or crosswalks through the parking lot that people would follow from that right parking lot as kids and families are crossing across the drive-through? I don't know, but how could we make it safer? So I don't know. Because it does seem like Bill said, like there are going to be people coming through the drive-through from both ways, plus people crossing the parking lot. I don't have the answer, but it would be great to try to make it safer for the pedestrians.
Mm.
I wonder if we almost need to have like lights, sort of like what we were suggesting for up on Bartlett, where they have lights going, somebody can push a button and set off the lights to warn people that, warn drivers that somebody's crossing there.
Right.
So where would a crosswalk go though in the parking lot? Is that?
Well, you got one crossing when they come out of the drive-through,
Mhm.
and then you're going to have one crossing when if they're walking from East Main Street down to the windows. They're going to be crossing, in both cases, they're going to be crossing right in front of that drive-through traffic.
You will be doing that.
Mm.
Maybe they could just do the texture, the paint that has the reflector in it.
So can you guys see my screen again?
Yeah.
All right, so, right, if you're coming in here, especially like say you are trying to get the Little Pond traffic and Little League and all of that. Say if the cars should ever be out this way, you're gonna cross through that. Make your way over.
I just think there's a lot going on in that area where you're looking at cars possibly coming from left, right, and behind you.
Yeah, you are.
And that's a lot if you've got kids or if you're holding stuff. It's not possible to look in all 3 different directions at the same time.
The strange part for me is just like the diagonals. Like it almost seems like you need like a, I don't know, maybe no one else thinks that way, but maybe it's just like is it weird to have a diagonal cross here? Maybe it doesn't matter.
Like you
Well-
said, if you got rid of the East Main entrance, it would probably make it a lot safer, because then there wouldn't be cars cutting through.
Because then you've got people making a left-hand turn across Route 20 to get in, which when it was the barbecue place was always the biggest problem,
Mhm.
getting in and out.
Well, people, yeah. I almost, oh.
So, I mean, I understand the reason for the East Main Street entrance. I think it's just a bit of a concern that, you are going to have people crossing both, the entering drive-through and then the exiting drive-through as well to get to the picnic area.
Oh, right, because you assume that people are gonna exit this. Is there a one way out of here, or could you go through the drive-through and back out to East Main?
You could go through drive-through and back out, but you're still going to be crossing where the people are going to be coming down after they get their food to go to the picnic area. Right? They're making that crosswalk to the south.
I mean, you almost should make it so you can only exit out on Route 20. Like you can enter either, remember we did this on Lyman?
Mm-hmm.
You could enter either side, but you could only exit on one, because otherwise, say you want to get back out East Main, you could potentially be crossing into the incoming
Yeah.
drive-through traffic, getting up through, passing if there's overflow or people trying to come in, and then try to make your way back out. And this could even be blocked at the time if there's cars.
Mm.
That's why I was saying, had they considered just a one-way exit only?
Yeah. So regardless of what entrance, it's the flow just comes right out here, and that alleviates this swoop back out.
Mhm.
Yeah, because if you're coming up from Route 20 from Marlboro, you can make that right-hand turn onto East Main Street.
Safely, either way.
Right.
Yeah,
So if your entrance is on East Main Street and your exit is Route 20, that provides a one-way flow.
yeah.
Now, you're going to have people trying to make that left onto Route 20, but you've got the traffic lights up at Bartlett to help minimize that traffic.
I think that, to me, that makes more sense, doing something like that. Unless, I mean, I think it's worth a look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be my recommendation to give to the ZBA.
And
Yeah.
sometimes we ask for a peer review. Could they ask for like VHB to peer review it and say, what's the best traffic flow here? Or whoever the peer review person is. It doesn't have to be a huge peer review of the whole property, but traffic flow and safety for pedestrians.
Lori, in your past experience, have you had any sort of like drive-through, best practices, standard flow or anything, or not necessarily? Or I guess, Fred, maybe that's something you've seen too.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, the biggest challenge for a drive-through was Dunkin' Donuts in a town center. And there was a lot of discussion about queuing and ensuring that there was enough queue space. And in that circumstance, there was a traffic light within very close proximity, and they were required to install another traffic light. I don't think that we're talking about the same scenario here. It's certainly not in a town center. So I don't anticipate the heavy amount of queuing that you experience at rush hour at a Dunkin' Donuts.
Mhm.
So I don't think, the installation of a traffic light would be necessary.
Mm-mm.
I also, I can certainly appreciate the concern about crossing within the site. But I think the installation of a hawk light might be a little bit of overkill. Because usually that's for, intersection, where you're talking about a heavy speed of traffic. So I can't imagine that the traffic that's going to be crossing over from the drive-through is going to be going faster than, say, 5 miles per hour. Whereas when you typically have a hawk installation, then you're talking about at least 30 miles per hour.
Okay.
So I think that it's really important to have a crosswalk at those two locations. But I think the rate of speed is going to be slow enough where you can just get away with the reflectorized paint. So it'll be super important to ensure that it's adequately lit and that people can see the pedestrians within the crosswalk.
Okay. Okay, so overall, it sounds like board recommendations are perhaps we talked about solutions to mitigate, whether it's a cop detail, should there be the case where there's some sort of, whatever that trigger is of traffic or overflow into the streets, either putting a time on the special permit where they have to come back and make sure there is not that case of overflow, or police detail, or both. It also sounds like the board is in support of a one-way exit so that you can only exit out of onto Route 20. Anything
I
else?
wouldn't be opposed to a one-way entrance either on the other side,
How does the board feel about a one-way entrance?
or at least considering that.
So for consideration. How do other board members feel about a one-way entrance?
Yeah, I think keeping it one way in, one way out will help limit the, control the traffic a little bit. I do have another question for the applicant.
Sure.
What are you considering right now for your hours of operation?
We really haven't worked that out. I know we were asked that in the design review committee. That was one of their questions as well. And the applicant really is I think he might have said so then, but has to put some more thought into it. And had some questioning back to the committee members as to what is normally allowed. But the bottom line is the applicant is still trying to work that through about the hours.
Because then I would be worried about lighting as well.
Yep. Well, lighting is proposed, and the next sheet actually in the site plan set was a photometric plan for those lights.
Right, but you don't have anything at the picnic area.
We would anticipate if we have lighting there, it would just be portable units, not light poles such as is shown in the lower right of the sheet.
Any other questions there, Bill, on lighting?
No.
So, Millie, to get to your point about the one-way entrance, the only thing that I think would be difficult for this business is if there are people from out of town, it would kind of be a pain to figure out how to get in, or maybe not. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the area. Like if you're on Route 20 and the sign for the building is right here, you may be like, oh, well, let's stop for ice cream. And you just think like you could get in this way. It would be kind of a pain to figure out. Well, first of all, you passed the way to get in right here. You'd have to go scooping around. What is this? What's at the end here? Is this?
Carrie?
Yes.
That section right there is one way. Coming from East Main Street to turn out, you can't turn in there.
Oh, you're right.
So my suggestion would be that you not make the entrance from East Main Street one way, simply because entrance only, simply because that supplies a good place for people to go out onto East Main Street, come around the block, and then get to the
Wow.
light to go east or west on Route 20. And I'd actually recommend that maybe you make it right turn out only onto Route 20 so that we can eliminate those left turns, which are always difficult on Route 20, especially where sometimes people are speeding to get through the light or taking off really quickly. The applicant owns property all the way up to the corner, which would be an ideal location for a sign directing people down Bartlett and around to East Main Street to enter from the backside, as kind of a warning that it's there, and not if they go past it, then they've got to go a long way around to turn around or make a U-turn on Route 20.
So the right turn only would be in the Route 20 exit?
Yes, to eliminate the left turn exits onto Route 20 going east.
Okay. But you don't think make this the exit only? You would think that people should be able to turn around, go like scoop all the way around and go out in the back?
Think if they want to go east on 20, then going
You
out,
have to do that. You don't have a
yes.
choice. What does the board think about that? A right turn only? Although it doesn't alleviate the problem of these cars going all the way around out the back, and then it forces them out this way.
I honestly, with that drive-through there, I see the same problem that I see at CVS in town, and it's a mess in that whole parking lot area. You see cars going back, forth, up, down, over, under, changing directions because they can't get out one way. The other way's a one way. You can't get out the way they came in. I just see it as being problematical, but that's just me.
That CVS is a difficult, you can't take, you can't take a left there? That's, so you gotta figure out.
It seems like there's two ways to get in. And neither of those two ways to get in are really ways that you can get back out. It's really confusing. And I just, fortunately, people are going slow there, but I've seen a few close calls with kids that it's worrisome.
Okay, board thoughts on whether it's a turn only or an exit only? And obviously this is up to the ZB anyway, so it's just our own
Yeah.
opinion.
I think I'd go back to Amy's suggestion and get a peer review from an expert.
Right, like a traffic expert.
If they're going to put the with the drive-through.
Okay, so the board has concerns about the double entry exit, the cars crossing, each other and people, and the general implications of, the backup when you can't go left right away, especially depending on the time. So if you're holding up traffic here, while others are trying to get in, and there's any sort of overflow, this becomes really jammed up quickly. So our recommendation would be to get some sort of professional analysis on the proper drive-through flow here that would make it the safest solution. Is that what we want to put? Because we don't really know if a one-way would work or right turn only would work or any of that.
Well, I just feel like I'm not an expert, so it'd be good to
Right.
get like an engineer that does traffic
agree.
analysis.
Okay. Okay, so general concern with the safety of the flow of this drive-through, all the things happening at the same time, suggest some sort of review, professional review of what would work best for this. And then also, in addition, that secondary piece still exists. If there's overflow, despite the review and any sort of expert design, if there's an overflow, it triggers coming back and figuring out what to do.
Yep, or the police detail.
Yep.
Okay.
And we had talked about the bollards, so the people from the parking lot don't accidentally hit the people
Yes, and
inside.
that too. Okay, I think. Anything else on that one? All right, so I think that is it. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
walking through that. It sounds like overall, despite the possible changes to the flow of the drive-through. It's exciting to have an ice cream place in town. So thanks for coming in.
Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care. Okay, next, we have 129 Maple Street, discussion of proposed multifamily development. Is there anyone speaking to that tonight?
No, the applicant was unable to attend tonight's meeting. So I'm going
Okay.
to do the best I can.
Sure.
I can share my screen and show you the plans. So just bear with me for a minute. It seems like I lost that view, so I'm going to have to get it off the website again. So one sec. Here we are. Okay. So this is a multifamily development. So the story is that it was originally a 5-unit multifamily development. It was built in 1849 originally, and it was converted into multifamily at some point in the past. I'm not exactly sure when, but no doubt before zoning. There's a bit of discrepancy in the plan versus the narrative as to the size of the original structure. On the plan itself, it says that the structure was 2,600 square feet. This is the existing conditions plan. The structure was damaged significantly by fire approximately 1 year ago. So they are within the 2-year window of time where the use and the structure are grandfathered, so they're considered non-conforming. However, the applicant is interested in expanding the footprint of the building. I'm going to show you the site plan. So you can see the historic footprint of the building here. And they are interested in expanding the footprint, which triggers the special permit process. So they are seeking a special permit to reconstruct a non-conforming structure destroyed by fire, a special permit to expand a multifamily dwelling in the groundwater protection district, as well as site plan review. So it is in the residential C district, as well as groundwater protection overlay district 2. There is a little bit of confusion about the lot lines. So there are originally 3 parcels. Let's see if those are shown. Yes, 3 parcels. So this one, and this one. And a plan of land was filed that combined these 3 parcels together. So that was a comment that I made in my review letter, because if these lots were in fact combined, then that means that the site plan should be showing all 3 parcels instead of just this 1 parcel. So these units that they're proposing would be 1-bedroom units. So that's identical to the historic use. So the 5-unit apartments did only have 1 bedroom to begin with. So they are creating 9 parking spaces. They're proposing to divide the parking into two different segments. And that is consistent with the current driveways. Currently, there are 2 driveways that serve the site. So, but of course, they're not in this configuration. that is shown. Let's see, they are proposing to infiltrate the roof runoff. So they do have stormwater mitigation shown. They do have a septic system that serves the site, and it would be public water. They are proposing to do underground utilities. So that was one of the comments that I made, that they needed to show the utility boxes and screening. Let's see, and this is the landscape plan. So they are proposing to add street trees. So pretty much the current configuration of this portion of the parcel is that there is no real vegetation that has been maintained. I do believe there might be a small Japanese maple, but other than that, the existing trees had been cut down at some point. So there's no significant vegetation that exists. So that's pretty much what I have. I will do my best to answer questions that you might have.
Any board questions?
I have a couple. I have a dog barking now. One of my, maybe I'll stop the dog and someone else can go first.
Any other questions?
So they're looking to expand it to, I think it was, how many square feet now? 50?
So the new footprint would be 4,600 square feet.
Okay. And so is that also what they're seeking a special permit for? Because you can continue the non-conforming use because the 2 years hasn't lapsed, but I was under the impression that you really couldn't expand it.
So our zoning bylaw does allow you to expand the footprint and the volume of the building if you were able to get a special permit from the ZBA.
Right.
So if they were gonna just build in the existing footprint, then they would just get a building permit. They would need no further relief. But because they're interested in expanding the volume and footprint of the building, they have to go to the ZBA.
Okay. Okay.
I have something if Millie's
Sure.
done.
I'm done for now.
To me, this is a very different building. It was a colonial that was changed into 5 apartments. And now it's going to be 5 townhouses. Like they're building 5 single family homes. It's not the same. It's not the 1-unit home being changed into 5 apartments. That's where I have a big problem. And if you read multifamily dwelling versus single family dwelling attached or townhouses, these fall under townhouses. And it looks like they only include the square footage for the first floor, but yet the second floor, which says it's a finished attic, has a full bathroom in it. Like I have a hard time believing that it's going to stay a 1-bedroom once it's actually built.
So what I'm trying to do is bring up the site, the elevation drawings. So I'm going to share that so you can see it.
Because if it's a true attic, you wouldn't need a full bathroom.
Well, was it a rooming house before? Or was it apartments? Or was it?
My understanding, it was 5 1-bedroom apartments.
And each one had a kitchen and a bathroom, or were they shared? Because that's different.
I don't know. I don't have a floor plan of the existing building. So I can't say what the configuration is.
Because wouldn't that, if it was a rooming house, wouldn't it, that would be a different use than an apartment house or apartments, right?
I do not believe it's a rooming house. It's an apartment building. So that's the way it's listed in the assessor's records, is that it is a building with 5 one-bedroom apartments. So I would imagine, of course, you have at least 1 bathroom and you have a kitchen.
Because I think that the property on 24 Main Street is listed the same way, but it is a rooming house.
Mhm.
I'm just curious.
But this one too is 5 townhouses. This isn't the same. It's not, even if it's 5 full apartments, they were all in one house. This is now separating it into 5 different living homes, townhouses. So to me, for non-conforming, I don't see it as the same thing. And, we've had a lot of people come for us, like with one person had 4 acres of land and he wanted to do 4 homes. And they would have had to change the zoning. But to me, I feel like this is setting a bad precedent that if you have an apartment building, which is affordable for people, because if it really is one house with 5 one-bedroom apartments, that's an affordable type of housing. But if every building like that now can come down and make 5 single-family homes, which is what these are, I just feel like that's not even the same use, and it's setting a bad precedent.
I agree. I think this is completely something,
Different.
and the inconsistencies in the application, which we've seen before in this particular applicant's applications, I just think this is going to blow up beyond, the full bathroom in the attic doesn't really make any sense.
Well, it's just fundamentally a 2-bedroom.
It's a 2-bedroom. It's a 2-bedroom. So I think we need to be, honest with ourselves here, what we're looking at.
Well, and that would require them to change the septic then.
I don't know, Fred, if they're 2 bedrooms with full bath in the attic, so does that have any implications septic wise or?
Yes, the septic is based upon the number of bedrooms in the whole project. And this is in a groundwater area that has a limit on how much septic loading can be afforded to the lot based upon how much land area it has. They're limited to, I think, 110 gallons per 10,000 square feet.
Yeah.
I think if your zoning
You go down and
allows
show the
small,
second floor plan.
Sure.
So there's just a bathroom up there.
With the bathroom also on the first floor.
Right.
Right. No, I get that one, but there's literally just a bathroom on the second floor.
and it's full. Like, how many people have a bathroom in their attic? I know I don't.
I have a big problem with this.
I do too. Does any board member think this is not a problem? All right. So unanimous red flags on this one. How do we want to articulate it? What are some of our specific problems or concerns?
I'm not sure that the proposed the plans align with the proposed use.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have a
I'm
problem
not
with the
sure.
non-conforming. I think before it was one house with 5 one-bedroom apartments, and now we're becoming 5 single-family units. So I don't see it as the same.
And I definitely want to look into the how those apartments were set up prior to the fire. Because if they were rooming houses, that is completely different than 5 single families or even single units.
I agree with Millie. I think we need to see the floor plan of what was there previously.
Fred, would the current septic setup lend itself to tell us how it was set up before, so a rooming house, but everyone would have their own bathroom in a rooming house though, so I guess maybe it wouldn't. Oh, they wouldn't?
No, they do not.
So is there anything, Fred, that would give us a clue as to what was there before, just by way of the septic setup now, or not necessarily?
I don't think so. The septic is, like I said, the septic design is based upon the number of bedrooms. Doesn't
Oh,
really
okay.
take into account the number of bathrooms.
Got it.
So the way the code works, the sanitary code. I understand it was apartments. They all shared the same septic system, but I don't know. I don't know how the entrance exits worked.
Got
I'm
it.
not familiar with it before the fire.
What was there before for driveway and parking? Do we know that?
I can, if you folks are all set with this, I'll stop sharing this and go back to the site plan.
Anyone else need this, or are we good?
This is the front elevation and the rear elevation. I'm sorry, and the side elevation.
Mhm.
And this is the rear elevation.
Mhm.
Can you show the existing conditions plan, Lori? That maybe that
Yeah.
would give us an idea what the driveway arrangement looked like. If not, we can pull up the street view from the GIS too. We'll show you what it looks like right now. Which
I just
is,
have to go back there and get out of this and get back into the other one. So just bear with me a minute. All right. So this is the existing conditions plan. Let's see how I can zoom in
Yeah, I
without.
can't.
Use the plus on the top.
Plus on the top.
Oh, there.
Keep going up, all the way up. Yep, in there. There's a plus in the middle.
Go
up
to
by,
the gray area.
up by the 35%.
I think it's because I got the screen share, so I can't see
Oh, so
the
you can't see
tabs
it.
that you normally see. Maybe if I do more. Let's see. See if I can move it. Ah, there we go.
There you go. Okay.
All right. So what was your question?
Like
Which
where
one is
currently
the-
the parking and like number of driveways and all of that.
Okay, so this is one of the driveways. So you can see it goes back to a garage.
Mhm.
I'll move this again. And then they have another driveway on this side of the building. So this one, if I recall, had some striping associated with it. I think maybe in this vicinity. And then they had another driveway entrance here, gravel driveway.
Hmm.
And they had another clearing that looks like it was used as a driveway off of Omaha Street. So they actually had 4 driveways for this one site.
Hmm.
Okay, and all gravel, all the driveways are gravel?
No, 2 of them are paved. Oh, no,
Oh.
I'm sorry. One is paved, this one is gravel, and then the other 2 are also gravel.
Okay. So in the proposal, they now want to do 5 paved driveways?
2 driveways. So they would want to pave them both. And then they would want to stripe parking. So one of the driveways would have 5 spaces and the other one would have 4.
Well, that actually does seem a little cleaner than the other way it was.
And they are proposing to demolish this existing garage.
Aside from the actual use and everything about the house piece of it, how does the board feel about the driveways and parking and all of that?
I think that's fine. I'm a little concerned if they're looking to remove those other parking spots, what are they going to do with those other lots?
Well, the issue is that they've combined the lots together. So I think that they would have to go to the planning board in order to divide the lots again.
But he is squeezing it all onto the front lot, so it is, he could divide it again and then build in the back. He could come off of Johnson Ave.
Well, he's got a challenge because of course, in the groundwater protection overlay, the minimum lot size is 40,000 square feet. So if you look at the existing conditions plan, let me blow this up. So this lot right here, lot number 1 is 20,000 square feet. So lot 2 is 21,500 square feet. And lot 3 is 11,160 square feet. So even though he has sufficient frontage and access to create 3 lots, they wouldn't be buildable lots without getting relief from the zoning board of appeals. So if you were to file, my recommendation would be that he would have to put not a buildable lot. And then he'd have to see if he could get relief from the ZBA.
Okay. Any other board thoughts or questions?
I do think it's a big expansion too, because it was 2,600 square feet, going to 4,600 square feet, which is like an 80% increase.
Okay, so obviously this isn't our public hearing, but I do see some hands up, so I will allow a couple comments. I see Stephanie, did you have something, or is that left over from last time?
No, I just wanted to, I'm 5 Johnson Ave, which literally is like that lot is across, just to give you guys a little information to consider. Johnson Ave's pretty tight. We can barely fit 2 cars next to each other as it is. So depending upon how many cars are going to be coming in and out, that where the current driveway is on Johnson Ave for that property is right. Like if you pull out, you say to take a left to head towards Maple, there's very little square footage between that driveway and Maple. And as of right now, it's pretty dicey, especially with those, trees and everything, to take a left onto Maple, or like say somebody's coming from Maple Street to take a left onto Johnson Ave. They can't necessarily see if someone's coming out on Johnson Ave and vice versa. So if there's going to be a ton of increased traffic, that definitely, would pose an issue. And I would just say, looking at your plans versus what I know was there before, it's definitely larger. And I absolutely agree with the planning board that it looks shady with the plans of 5 1-bedrooms, sounds okay. But if it's going to end up being 2 bedrooms, that's really going to be a lot for that spacing. And I just wanted to throw that out there just because I can legit see it from my window. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Stephanie, that's helpful. Chris, you have something there? Hi, Chris.
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Chris Covino. I live at 4 Omaha Ave. So I'm on the other side of the property, kind of over, I guess, by lot 3. I guess I'd make a couple of comments. I guess I'd like to piggyback a little bit on what has been said about a much different use, and that finished attic space with the bathroom looks an awful lot like a master bedroom to me, an additional master bedroom. It's just to share a little bit of a brief history on that kind of lot that's on the Omaha Ave side. I know it's misidentified as Omaha Street. The supposed driveway that intersects with Omaha Ave, that was created within the past probably 15 years. I remember speaking with Mr. Pearson. He didn't realize, he had originally thought that that parcel, that lot 3, the lot that's against Omaha Ave, was, he thought that was actually his lot. And later on, he realized that it actually wasn't his lot, and he had to purchase the lot from the party that had actually owned it. And at one time, there was a stockade fence that had run essentially all the way up Omaha Ave. And right now, I think all that really remains is there's some arborvitae out in front. So that driveway, or what's being identified as a driveway, there really was never a legal driveway that had any kind of authority, I guess, from the town. The other thing, I guess that would be of concern to me, issues with the actual building aside, would be, and I'm not sure if Stephanie would also agree with this, but having some kind of buffer where a buffer would exist either along Johnson Avenue or having a buffer of maybe like arborvitae or trees. I'd be curious as to what the developer intends to do with the existing trees that are essentially abutting Omaha Avenue, and whether or not there's any kinds of plans. I've seen landscape plans for the front where the property abuts Maple Street, but I'd be curious as to what the what sort of buffer, if any, the developer intends to place along Omaha Ave or Johnson Ave. Anyway, that's really about it, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thanks, Chris. That's great feedback. And in fact, so for both Chris and Stephanie, as we mentioned before, the hearing is at the ZBA the 27th, and that may be great feedback to share then as well. It's helpful to know for sure. Thank you for sharing that. What is planned? Could you please show the landscaping plan again, Laurie, if you don't mind?
Sure. So they're only showing a partial view. So they're only showing that one lot. They're not showing the other two.
Oh, okay. So we have no information on any sort of landscaping or plans or anything?
No,
Okay.
not for those other two lots.
Okay. All right. Any other board questions on this one? Okay, Lori, in terms of sharing board, I see Judy just joined us, so I don't want to belabor too much. In terms of what the board's provided for feedback so far, does that give you enough, or do you want us to try to articulate it in a different way, or?
So what I'm hearing is that there's concern about the attic space, that the attic space will be utilized as a second bedroom instead of as, kind of like an additional living space like they identified. And then, of course, questions about buffering along Omaha and Johnson. I'm not sure if there's anything else you want me to add.
I actually don't think it's the same. Like, I feel like in our bylaws, page 729, multifamily dwelling, like what it was before, was a house with 5 apartments in it. And now they're going to single family dwelling units attached, which are townhouses. So, I know he's saying non-conforming because it's 5 bedrooms, but it's not even the same use in our zoning bylaws. It's going from a multifamily dwelling to a townhouse.
Yeah, I'd like to see the history of what the use was permitted for. If there's a way to get permits and things like that. Because if it's a rooming house or if it's a multifamily, I find it hard to believe that there were 5 kitchens and 1 in each. I have to think it was a rooming house, which is different.
Mm-hmm.
5 kitchens and 5 bathrooms and 2,600 square feet is not a lot.
No, it's like 520 feet per unit, which.
And that's another concern too. It's going up 80% from 2,600 to 4,600. Like, it's not just the non-conforming bylaw where a building was destroyed by fire is allowing that non-conforming use to be rebuilt. And in this case, he's using that non-conforming to make a whole new use, 5 single-family houses, which isn't really the intent of the non-conforming bylaw. It's so you have what you had before, but it isn't there to allow like a free-for-all to do whatever you want. And I think it sets a bad precedent going forward, because there are a lot of people who would love to say, I have a 2-bedroom apartment in my attached garage, it burns down, and say, okay, now I'm going to put up 2 single-family homes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's really a stretch, and it's going to set a bad precedent. Anyone else coming forward will want to do the same thing.
And then, of course, the concern, if this truly is a 2-bedroom, then just what does that mean for the septic and all of that?
Okay.
All right, great. Thanks for presenting this, Laurie.
Thank you.
Great. Well, looks like we have Judy here. Welcome back, Judy. Good to see you. And Lauren, we have Lauren here as well. So next, we're going to go back to our agenda with a discussion regarding initial analysis for MBTA communities. So welcome.
Hi, how are you all doing? That was an interesting discussion I was just listening to.
Oh, yes. It's actually a ZBA application, but we do a technical review to share any
Yeah.
feedback. So
Yeah,
we'll be headed their
That's how
way.
that's how we do it too. So I wanted to join just because I know this trying to get your heads wrapped around the MBTA communities law is a little bit mind-boggling. It's been that way for us as well. So I want to just explain a couple of things that are going on that might be helpful to the board. There have been a set of issues that have come up since this law went into effect and DHCD released guidelines last fall. That once communities started to try to figure out where to put a district, questions started to come up. One of which was, and this came from DHCD, not any of us, is there a potential issue creating a, I'm going to call it a 3A district, MBTA communities. 3A is just easier to say. Is there a problem including in a 3A district an existing comprehensive permit development? And we were originally hearing, boy, that could be a problem. Now we're hearing, we're not so sure. We do not have an answer, which probably is going to frustrate you guys no end. Excuse me, I'm getting over a horrible cold. But based on what I'm hearing, if I were you, if it were my town, which it's not, I would take the area you really want, which is, I think, what you started with, which was Avalon and the property across the street, and say, that's what we want as our district. And let DHCD say no. We will know soon what the disposition is of this 40B issue. Now, I will be the first to admit this is different from what you heard from us. We're not trying to confuse you and we're not trying to drive you crazy. We're just telling you what we hear as it comes out. So the message is changing a little, but it still hasn't been resolved. So in conversations with Mass Housing Partnership, which is what's paying for our working with you, I think the message we've been getting is just say what you want. And then if DHCD changes their mind, what you need is a fallback position. So let's say you decide that what you want is the Avalon and property across the street. That's where you started. That's what we want as our district. Fine. But what's the fallback going to be if it turns out that the Avalon property can't be part of it? What's the where's the rest of that land going to come from? I think that's kind of what we need to know. And we can't model a lot of different iterations because, believe it or not, when we started this, I thought, oh, this model is going to be easy. It's an Excel model. You just export from stuff from GIS. It is not. So we don't have unlimited hours. And what I think we would like to know from all of you is, what's the best fallback? If we have to put Avalon, if we have to pull Avalon out, what's the fallback that you want? What's the other area you want us to look at that would make the most sense to you as a planning board, given the intent of the law? That's, I think, what we want to hear from you.
Okay, so first let's make sure the board agrees that our first point would be that Avalon the ball field in Avalon. Is that something that the board agrees is our first choice?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Avalon, obviously, because it's already there, right? And they've already presented the ball field, so we know that that's probably going to happen whether we do it or not.
That's kind of what we thought. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do. It's just that that was sort of the message that we got. And it kind of makes sense to us too, from a planning point of view. I'm just concerned for you guys that I don't want to leave you, at the end of this month when basically we're done for now with here's your 3A district. This is going to be great, right? And then 6 weeks later, DHCD says, oh, no, you can't include that land.
Okay.
I don't want to leave you in that position. So, that's what we want to hear from you is, where else do you want us to look? Let's say the ball fields is kind of a given, but where else?
Okay. Anthony, you have something there?
Is that enough land to cover us, those two parcels? It is?
Yeah, the
think
Avalon
so.
site and the southwest cutoff site where the ball fields are is enough. If
Yeah.
you removed Avalon, it would not be.
That's the problem.
So if we remove Avalon, then
Hmm.
we have to find 23 acres of land. I'm going to give you my planner's plug because I've been working with the master plan implementation committee over the course of the last year on downtown revitalization. And we've already had a couple of community meetings. And what the consultants are telling us is that we need more multifamily housing in order to kind of jumpstart the downtown revitalization. If we want a pedestrian-friendly downtown, then we need people who are actually living in the downtown. And right now, we pretty much have single-story retail, which is very consistent with the single-story retail we already have all up and down West Main Street and in Northborough Crossing. So I suspect that the town of Northborough is pretty much tapped out on its single-story retail. But what we don't have is we don't have a classic downtown where you have retail on the first floor or office space, and then above you have a combination of office and multifamily development. So this is a concept that has been discussed quite a bit at the downtown revitalization meetings. And it seems like there is buy-in at this point for that type of development. So one 10-acre parcel in particular, where they're proposing multifamily with some mixed use, is the Harvey property behind the town hall. So that is one piece that I would like to include. Another item, location that we've been talking about is if the town hall, the current location of the town hall moves, then the existing town hall would be great for a multifamily conversion. So that's another parcel that I'm interested in. And then the mill building that of course was just recently approved for modification, 56 Hudson. It's under construction. I don't anticipate it's going to turn over anytime soon. But that is another potential location where we could have multifamily. Now, the benefit of including the downtown location in the 3A district is that the state is pumping out a bunch of grant money for downtown revitalization, for infrastructure improvements. So we are interested in creating a more pedestrian-friendly downtown. So that means, you know, sidewalk work. It means creating some pedestrian plazas. It means pedestrian scale lighting. And all of that is super, super expensive. So I expect it to be a multi-year, multi-million-dollar project. So this would be a good vehicle for getting access to that grant money. So that would help out the downtown revitalization, not only with, you know, getting people living in our downtown, but also in improving the appearance of the downtown so people will want to live there. So I'm just gonna put that plug in before you guys comment.
So I have the Excel spreadsheet up, so I don't have the initial sheet. So we need to come up with how many acres total?
23 additional acres. So
In addition to
the southwest cutoff is 27 acres. So the combination of the districts has to be 50 acres.
50.
So if we're including southwest cutoff, that's 27. So then we need 23 more acres.
Okay. So the thing about, I know when I look at the spreadsheet, like the mill building or town hall, that's like 1.7, 1.9, like it's really not adding up a whole lot. If
Yeah.
even Harvey's only 10. The appeal
Yes.
to me about Avalon and the ball field is it's just all together. It's a nice big spot. It's right off the highway. There's shopping there. It's already built in there. Is the one like finding these little small 1.7s seems.
There is a way. So of course, the 56 Hudson, and then there's a parking lot across the street that's 13 acres. So it's the hill behind, so it's off of Hudson. So it's the parking area, and then there's the hill behind. Now, I don't anticipate that you're going to be able to get 15 units per acre on that hillside. I imagine it's going to be a much lower density that would be able to be accommodated on the hillside. But that would provide the overall acreage as an alternative should the Avalon not work.
So we would need to look at that, Lori, and make sure we don't have a contiguousness conflict, because part of the issue with this 3A legislation, there's like a lot of boxes you have to check.
Yep.
It's the 50 acres, there's the contiguous acres, there's the land that gets deducted because it's so-called, excluded. It's just, so we would need to look at that. And I'm not ruling anything out that you're saying. I just want to point out that, it could be 23 acres, it could be 25, but somewhere in that mix, we need to find that land, because if we end up having to exclude land for wetlands or something, then you may not actually get to 50. Just to complicate everything, board members.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's potential to add more contiguous land. So all the parcels that I just mentioned are contiguous to each other. So of course there's a river.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's going to be excluded from the calculation. But there is some adjacent land that I think we could include. We could just expand the boundary. It's already developed land, so I don't anticipate it would be further developed. But in order to get us to that magic number, I think we can play around with it.
Okay, so number one, the board's first choice is Avalon and ball fields. So we're talking about the alternate at this point.
Really, I think that's what we need some direction on.
Okay. And King Street is out of the mix. King Street does not count. Is that what we decided later?
Which is that? I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't have your
The
spreadsheet.
assisted living.
So, so Lori pointed out to me that the permit that you issued doesn't actually have an age restriction in it. And if that's the case, then, we would be happy to model that property too, but I don't remember what the acreage is in it.
Oh, only 7.75 combined.
Only 7, yeah.
And they might rather do the MBTA there than the
Still
assisted
7.
If it's 7 acres, it's enough to be at least a sub-district. You need, any sub-district you have has to be a minimum of 5 acres. So as you were stating earlier, some of those smaller acreage parcels you would need to combine together to reach that 5 acres, but you could include it at least as a sub-district.
Yeah. So this is basically to increase density along the MBTA rails. So I have a question on towns that are in towards the city. How are they coming up with these 50 acres?
It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not playing games with you, but, again, I think one of the aspects of this law that's really hard to get your head wrapped around is the law requires you to demonstrate that you have zoned capacity for 15 units an acre. It doesn't say anything, it doesn't say it has to be built. You can have land that's already improved, except land that has churches and schools and hospitals. But, it can be land that's fully developed. As long as one could, in theory, apply to build 15 units an acre on that property.
The Amazon warehouse on Bartlett Street is 25 acres. And it has no wetlands because they cut it off. So it's one big 25 acre plot. So you could put it there if you had to.
Yeah, and my only concern just to keep in mind, the other thing we keep hearing is that DHCD is kind of looking, there's some language in the statute around suitable locations. And they're starting to look at some of the areas that communities have identified through the lens of suitable location. So just keep that in mind as well. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I guess I want to be able to leave you at the end of this contract with a couple of areas that I know will work.
Mhm.
So you don't feel like, we didn't,
Due
give you
diligence.
something to work with.
Yeah.
Okay, so board member thoughts on, obviously Lori has a preference. Do we have some other areas? I'm interested, what is 0 southwest cutoff? That it's 23 acres,
The gravel pit.
the gravel pits.
Yeah.
But is that whole area there all gravel pit addresses? So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, there's about 5
Yeah.
or. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's a significant number of parcels that make up the gravel pit.
Fred, do you know how many
It's really
years they
back
have
there.
left? Because they always come in front of Earthworks Board and say, we'll be done, this year with the gravel pit, but
I've been here for 25 years and they've been saying 10 every year.
That's right. You have been there a long time, haven't you, Fred?
I
It
have.
lasted you,
Yes, sir.
Fred.
did you hear Fred's leaving us, Judy?
No.
Yes,
Are you taking a job somewhere else or are you retiring?
I'm retiring and considering what to do next.
Right.
Mhm.
Wow. That was a long time.
It has been a long time, yes.
When's
Lots of
your
fun.
last day, Fred?
June 30th.
Ooh, coming up.
Wow.
Well deserved.
Right.
Wow.
Okay, so board thoughts with some of the, and this spreadsheet, these are ones that you picked that you think are the most suitable out of all of our options.
Yeah, I mean, the gravel pit was tossed around or in the early days when we started talking about it. So, certainly it has the proximity to Northborough Crossing and Avalon. So it's close. It's right off of Route 20. So I thought that might be a site that interested you. The King Street, the reason why I was attracted to that one is because of the 88 unit assisted living. So that's most likely going to happen. Of course, there's no guarantee.
How much land is there, Lori?
So it's about 7 acres. It's a few parcels cobbled together. And it definitely needs some revitalization in that area. It's kind of rough. So I thought that might be a good opportunity to take an area that's pretty rough and provide incentive to do something there.
I do think if they got the MBTA overlay there, they might even not do the assisted living and want to do the housing. Because I would think that would give them more money in the long run.
Possible.
Because if they haven't built by now, this has been a long time.
We've been working with the property owner on satisfying the permitting requirements so he can get underway. So he's definitely before us.
How many units are they talking about doing?
So it's 88 units on a very small parcel. I want to say 2 acre parcel of land. Does that sound right, Fred? You're on mute.
Maybe a little bit bigger than that, Lori. If it's 7.5 altogether, there's a good half to 2/3 that are wetland. There's a steep slope in the back and then it's all wet going out towards the backside of what we call Julio's Plaza there.
There is an abutting parcel that's approximately 5 acres. That is looks to be a bit underutilized. So that one I thought would be good to add.
Okay, other board thoughts?
Wonder how many acres is in the Northborough Crossing too with Anzio Pizza? You know, it's right next to Avalon. Could be developed in the future sometime. I just wondered how many acres is there. I'd have to look it up though. I just thought of it. Because I think I'm concerned about picking 2 lots that are buildable right now because we'll get inundated with housing really quickly if we actually pick 2 parcels that are easily developable, which the ball field we know they want to do.
Mhm.
And if we pick a second one, then we're going to be hit. And there really hasn't been any thought of how we're going to incorporate all this, how we're going to, you know, between the schools, the fire, police. I just don't want to be hit with all this housing very quickly. I'd like to pick a second spot that would actually take some time to be developed. So we have,
I don't really see the downtown location as being developed quickly because of the fact that you already have uses. So the Harvey parcel was sold, and it's my understanding that the new property owner is in Texas. So it's owned by a large national corporation.
they're out of Canada.
Um,
At least that's what the newspaper said.
and maybe ultimately they're in Canada, but when I spoke with the Harvey family, they directed me to somebody in Texas. So they may have a United States office in Texas. That might be the way it goes. So I don't anticipate that that'll turn over in the near future. Certainly the town hall won't. And 56 Hudson, I don't anticipate will either because they're currently under construction for their
And what's
industrial
0
use.
Hudson? What's at 0 Hudson?
Zero Hudson, I believe, is that parking lot. So it's the parking lot that serves 56 Hudson.
Oh, that's what you're talking about, that lot, okay.
The only other thing you need to keep in mind is that when you have the district cut up in different locations, any portion of the district that's less than 5 acres contiguous will not count toward the minimum requirement. So you need to be thinking about, you know, if you're looking at parcels outside the Avalon, you know, that area that seems to work so well, just be thinking about at least 5 contiguous acres. Because they'll otherwise they'll discount it.
So maybe as a board, we have to go back and look. And if we did the Harvey property, could we do it as an overlay that it's mixed use? Like, I think if we did the Harvey 10 acres and they decided it's going to be all housing, then we're going to have 150 units downtown. But that's a great parcel to do more than just housing. Like that'd be great for like a restaurant or shops along the river, like in the Riverwalk. But if you put the MBTA housing on top of it, a developer will be like, hey, that's easy money. I'm just going to put all housing there. And then we've lost our biggest parcel downtown that actually could build something where people would want to come visit. Like if we fill all our downtown parcels with housing, there'll be nothing to bring people downtown to do anything.
So you can certainly allow mixed use. What you can't do is require it. So you can have a district where multifamily housing at 15 units an acre, mixed use, you know, with first floor commercial, upper story housing. You can allow that. You can allow other uses, but you have to allow the freestanding housing. So if what you want is mixed use, then you need to think about how you might encourage that or make an incentive for it by perhaps allowing more housing than you otherwise would have allowed. In other words, maybe an extra story or something to get so that it's worth it to someone to do that first floor commercial.
To me, that's a big gamble to put the overlay there. I feel like we'll lose. I mean, there were some apartments put up near Assabet Drive and they got all their apartments filled and there's really no incentive to put the commercial downstairs. Like housing is what's making the developers the money. right now.
Oh, is that Monument Place? That's still.
Yeah. So I feel like if we put an overlay downtown and they don't have to do mixed use, then we're probably not going to get it.
But we also have, remember, there's plenty of parcels. So there's parcels all over, South, Monroe, on Route 20, Pierce, Blake, which would not be included within the overlay. So those would be the parcels where we could dictate more easily that it has to, like, if you're going to do the multifamily, it has to be either horizontal or vertical mixed use. So this would be the location where you could do multifamily with mixed use, or you could do it exclusively, but then there's still, huge percentage of the downtown where you wouldn't be able to do that density of multifamily unless it's with mixed use.
This is along the river, though. We've always talked about, well, at least with some people that I've talked about downtown revitalization, how great it would be to have some shops and restaurants along the river and those waterfalls there. And this would just all of a sudden become housing. There'd be no river walk and there'd be no.
Yeah, when we did that exercise for that first one where people had the stickers, like people loved that area. Like all the stickers were about like restaurants, shops, whatever. Nobody was putting like, oh, that would be great for multifamily housing. I disagree that this housing is the silver bullet to downtown. I think we have economic development problems. I think we have parking problems, walkability. I hesitate to say, oh, if only we put affordable housing in this, jammed it in this area, we'd all of a sudden have a thriving downtown. I fundamentally disagree with that as the solution. So I'm not a fan of the downtown solution, but that's just my opinion.
One thing that I'm concerned about, though, think about West Main Street. So you have single story strip malls all over West Main Street, and you have nobody walking there. And the reason why you have nobody walking there is you have nobody living there, and it's ugly and inhospitable. So it's not a pedestrian friendly area. So in order to have a pedestrian friendly downtown, you need to have people living downtown. So the people who are living downtown are gonna, walk a couple of stories down from their apartment, and they're gonna go to the store that's beneath them. They're gonna walk next door to the stores that are there. So when you look at the successful downtowns, that's what you have. Now, there are some exceptions for tourist destinations. So if you go to Falmouth, you're not going to see a huge amount of, multi-story, multifamily there, because you have people. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure. But you have people who are going there because it's a tourist destination, but people aren't coming to Northborough as a tourist destination.
Well, Hudson's not a tourist destination, but I'd drive there for dinner and go to dinner there. I just think, and where will people walk to downtown? For the gas station, or there's nowhere to walk to, there's nowhere to go. So, or the stores that don't exist, because Monument Place has been there for as long as I've been on the board, I think, without being filled, any sort of business being filled. There's to me, I feel like we don't even have the economic development infrastructure to make it the whole recipe work together. So that's my concern.
But I don't think you're going to get those stores because there's no demand, So if you don't have the multifamily, you don't have the demand, then you're not going to get those shops that you're looking for.
But I don't even think the stores at Northborough Crossing have succeeded with a whole giant, how many apartments are over at Avalon?
382, I think.
But that's also not a downtown. I don't think you can really compare, a shopping center that has multifamily, a big box shopping center that has multifamily nearby to a pedestrian scale downtown where you're talking about 2- and 3-story structures. It's just a completely different feel.
My biggest concern for you guys on the whole issue of downtown revitalization, which I have actually done in my life, Plymouth downtown. If you have infrastructure ambitions in that downtown area, I can just tell you, and I will swear on a sack of Bibles, this is the case. The money is going to go where the housing is. That is the state's priority. I hate to tell you this, but it's the truth. The state wants housing built. So if you need infrastructure funding from the state, you're going to have to weigh this. I don't care what you pick. It's your town. It's not mine. But I do want you to understand the trade-offs. That is a serious issue. They are dying to put money into housing development, especially in 3A towns.
Yeah, but what is the trade-off? You know,
That's the
obviously
trade-off.
You want a thriving downtown, and if that's not what the residents are looking for, then, you know, whether we're compliant as an MBTA community, that might be for a while we're not.
Mm-hmm. That's the policy choice you're going to make. But I just feel like I need to tell you this because we're hearing it all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
And I've watched mass works over the years. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. The problem here is that we've got a chicken and egg situation, right? The housing will bring in the markets will bring in the housing, right? So which one do we put in first? You know, for me, the town has already voted on a master plan. The town has already voted that they want to do downtown revitalization. So I think the downtown area is going to be my first choice. I think the second choice for me is probably the 0 southwest cutoff, just doing that 23.62 acres and limiting it to just that so that, you know, we're not doing that whole 50-acre site unless we really need to. That gives us what we need. And it's in an area where, because really we're in this predicament because of the MBTA station in Westboro. That is close to the MBTA stations in Westboro, right? So that sort of fills in the whole point of this whole exercise.
Right.
So I think those two are, you know, like I said, downtown first, only because we have a revitalization, we have a master plan that has dictated that, you know, we want to do something with the downtown. This gives us a chance to do something with the downtown.
But when we did the master plan, every comment that came in was no high density housing. You go back and read all the comments that are in the back of the master plan. And even when we had our meetings, nobody wants the high density housing. Like, I think people would rather have like a beautiful downtown with the streetlights and the trees than to urbanize our downtown and make it high density housing. Because
but if you look at the two successful downtowns in our area, right, Hudson and Westboro, they're both mixed use, right? Even Hudson, you know, Carrie, to your comment earlier, I go to Hudson as well to go to the restaurants, but they're mixed use, right? There are apartments above those. Yeah, and so there are people walking from those apartments to eat at those restaurants, as well as people coming in.
That is true. That's one of our clients.
Yeah,
with
and
MBTA,
so I think
we can't force it mixed use.
No, you're right. We can't, but I think people, you know, developers will look at what's around us, what's in Westboro, what's in Hudson, what's worked. I mean, Hudson just won an award for being the best downtown. So what works? What works is multi-use, not high density.
When I go to Hudson and now they're doing a parking plan, everybody's looking to park because like you go, I go, Carrie goes, we all go to downtown Hudson, but we don't live there and we're not walking. Like, you're fighting to find parking because I'm not there all the time, but if you walk through the restaurant and took a poll, how many people in this restaurant have walked from their apartment? It would probably be like 5% of the people at most in the.
Right. I think Hudson's pulling a lot.
Yeah, but you know what people don't realize is that there's parking right down behind the firehouse and nobody ever goes there because there's no signs. I've never had a problem. I've never had a problem parking in Hudson. Ever.
Thanks, Bill.
Because I don't park on the street, right? I park either down behind the fire station or up behind the banks, and then do a little bit of walking. And I've never had a parking problem. But everyone wants to park on the street, which is the problem because they don't put signs saying public parking this way.
Right.
And
know
there
working on
are
that.
also, higher rise apartment buildings in Hudson. I've been to them. So I know that they exist and they are within, and we walked from that apartment building to the ice cream shop in the center.
Mm,
So there are people who are living in those apartments who are patronizing those businesses. And they're walking. They don't have to worry about parking problems because they're residents. They park their cars in their residential parking lot and then they walk wherever they want to go downtown.
Another consideration for you to think of is that you don't have to have the same district density across all of your sub-districts. So what that means is, for example, if you took your downtown and you didn't want to see 15 units an acre, let's say you reduced it to 10 or 12 units an acre, so you have less density there, but still allowing multifamily. If in your other district, you bring the density up so that you're averaging out across all of your districts to 15 units an acre, that still will comply. So that's another tool in this to think of.
Right. That's a good point.
Anthony, you've been quiet. Anything from you on this?
I'm torn on it. I really am. I do think there's a point to bringing that housing downtown would bring people, then would bring more development, and grants. So I'm not actually that opposed to that. So I think the ball fields in there, and I even like Amy's idea of looking at that lot next to Avalon. That's 19 acres.
Is your first choice still Avalon and Ballfields, or are you saying you're torn on your first choice, or you're torn on the alternate?
I'm torn on either way, yeah.
Okay.
So we need something downtown, and I think it does need development. And I do think the housing would bring in money and other development down there, and more services.
Okay, Millie, how about you? You're a downtown business owner.
I am. I definitely would like to see a mixed use, but you can't require that. I personally think we are actually losing a lot of potential revenue and potential homeowners because we don't have a downtown. So I think the downtown, the shops are the reason for people to go into a downtown, to me, is a priority. And I think that's shops. I think that's businesses. And I think that that's really where you start the spark. And then you'll get people who want to live in downtown. There would be no reason for people to want to live in downtown if there's nothing in downtown.
I'm just concerned that without people, I talk to businesses all the time, and they're not going to come knocking if they don't feel that they're going to get the patronage.
Right.
So that's the problem, is that if there's nobody shopping downtown, there's not going to be a restaurant opening downtown.
I mean, I think you got to start somewhere.
I just think if we fill our last big lots with housing, we're not going to have any room for shops. And School Street, Summer Street, I lived in the School Street apartments. There's tons over there. And they say it's like a quarter mile to half a mile distance will bring the people downtown. And where are all the people that live in School Street, Summer Street? There's just nowhere to go. But that's a lot of people living there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're usually included as part of downtown housing. So then we add another 200 apartments, but we still have nowhere to go. I'd like to hear what the people say, because from what I heard, people don't want high density housing. So when I was on the master plan, if you go back, like I said before, if you go back and read all the comments, people were against it.
Some were. I think they were more interested in the idea that you could have mixed use or businesses, not solely high density.
Yeah, I mean, from what I hear, everyone doesn't want this MBTA communities in town. But
Right.
we don't have a choice. We don't have that option. We don't have that luxury, right? We have to designate a spot for this.
If we want to be compliant.
There are
right?
a lot of
If we
towns,
want the
though.
grant later to
If
be
they
able to
grow,
build the
like the
downtown,
grants.
we need to be able to put this zone into place somewhere.
I went to a lot of the first meetings on the MBTA communities, and a lot of the towns are just gonna plop it on something like a FedEx or Amazon. They can cover their bases. You can put it on Indian Meadow neighborhood, which they're not gonna redevelop, but it's allowing them to, it covers all the criteria.
Mhm.
So, Amy, we're working with 11 of them.
Yeah,
And I can think of 2 that will do that.
Yep.
But we have others that actually are looking for places to make it work. So I think it's a real mixed bag.
Mhm.
But I do agree with you that towns can do that. I mean, they can, and I guess it's really, it's a policy issue for you guys. I mean, I can't think of a town I've ever worked in where people were just dying to say, we want high density housing. But every town I shouldn't exaggerate, almost every town I've worked in has said, we want a great downtown.
Mhm.
At some point, there are these trade-offs. People have to, sometimes people will say they don't want something because they don't understand the consequence. They
Right.
just know what they see that they don't like. But when it becomes a trade-off between this thing I don't like and this thing I really want, sometimes people will change their mind. So
Mhm.
I think you have to think about the messaging with your community.
Mhm.
And that's really the board's, that's something you got to wrestle with. I don't envy you, frankly. But I don't envy us either, and we need to get this done for you. So we need direction.
I appreciate your input. I know you've done a lot of work on it.
It was fun. I mean, it's an interesting challenge, just from a technical point of view.
Mhm.
You like to play with GIS, it's great, but but we're trying to give you something you could work with too. I mean, it's a planner. I don't want to give you something that's useless.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't think people want tons of housing. So if we're gonna go downtown, then do we nix the ball field?
You're going to get that anyway. I mean, if that's already been sort
The
of in
ball field's
play,
gonna
you
be
might
built
want to take
anyway.
advantage of it.
They
Yeah,
need
the ball field's
the
gonna build
Yeah, that's an
anyway.
easier one.
but they can't. They would need a variance. It's industrial. It's not
Yeah,
zoned
that's
for
true.
housing.
That's true.
So they can't do it anyway.
Yeah, that's true, Amy.
Oh, so even if we designated it, it doesn't, they still need a variance. It doesn't exclude all.
Oh, no, we could put an overlay there and it would
Oh.
count, but they
Oh.
just can't come in tomorrow and
Got
apply
it, got
to
it.
build it.
Right.
I'm with you.
They
Okay.
have to go through a process,
I got you.
but it still would be a suitable option for us to submit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought we could find a way to do half, 25 acres that we know is gonna happen. And then the other 25 acres might not be developable for a while. And I just don't think we can get hit with tons of housing.
Right.
What's
Right.
our time frame to get this done?
Hmm.
End of next year,
Okay.
town meeting next year.
Yeah,
We'd have
that's
to have a
the other-
bylaw.
Right. That's the other concern.
So really by January, February, wrap it up.
When's your town meeting? Is it beginning of May?
April.
Yeah.
April.
End of April.
Well, given how much everybody just loves multifamily housing in Northborough, you probably want to get an earlier start than that. But
Right. Right.
seriously, we're hearing this from other towns too. Like, oh my God, we need to start talking about this now.
Oh, and then the town has to vote on the properties we pick?
No, you would be designating those as zoning districts.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Yeah,
So
we
we have to work out the particulars. So the first step here is we have to choose the location. And then we can work on the specific design standards, the dimensional requirements, and the like. But Judy's contract is up at the end of the month. So we really need to provide her with direction on land to analyze so that we can then move to the next phase, which is actually coming up with the regulations and the dimensional requirements and the design standards. We can require design standards. We can negotiate, require open space amenities and negotiate where they can be. This is site plan review. But if those parameters are put into the design standards, then they have to comply with them.
Right. And then I would just say, Lori, remember that the more you assign in your plan review standards, things that will amenitize the project, just be careful that you don't take land away that's necessary for getting the 15 units an acre.
Right.
But I agree with you that certainly site plan review is the way to review a project, and you want to have site plan standards. But you have to have standards that won't interfere with the construction of, excuse me, 15 units an acre.
Yeah, so if there was a desire to have, a walkway along the river, then, certainly in a multifamily development, that's common land anyway.
Yeah.
So that's something that can be part of the permitting process.
I do think we will have to be careful on how much it's gonna open up, because when I first met Judy, the big thing was we were moratorium and we were banning duplexes.
Yep.
So our town is against duplexes, so now we're gonna try to do high density housing. It's gonna be a hard thing to pass at town meeting, so it has to be something that the town will have an appetite for. I think if we push our limits and we push it too much, it will get denied.
Well, the fun thing, Amy, is that for the next several months, the planning board will have to be a cheerleading squad for zoning for 15 units an acre.
What if
That
one
will be
member
your-
isn't the cheerleader?
That will be your messaging task.
All right, so our job tonight, we need to leave with direction for Judy. So we
Thank you.
have, number one, the Avalon ball fields. I heard some back and forth on whether or not that's still our first choice, so I want to verify that. Is Avalon and ball fields still our first choice?
I would agree with that. Yes,
For
that
me.
is, for me, that's my first choice.
Okay.
Especially because we already modeled it.
Oh, okay, so if we're assuming, we're hoping.
We're looking for backup.
There's a chance that they say that's fine. You're hearing chatter that, so this, the whole next part could be a moot point in general, but
Right.
you're
But
just
you
looking
gotta
for
have it.
backup. So we don't have to, I mean, obviously we want to make a good decision, but we don't, this isn't like, this is our number one is set. We're hoping that works. It very well may. This next part is the fallback. So we need to decide, why don't we kick out what we're not even, are we interested in King Street at all? Is anybody interested in King Street in this mix?
I don't think it gives us enough acreage.
Right. You need to keep the 5 acre thing in view. I don't remember what the acreage is on that.
I thought
Oh,
it was 7.
It's 7, but that's still, we need 23 if Avalon goes away.
Right.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, you're a third there with one pick.
There's 7, there's other parcels right near it. Along King Street.
All right, it's okay if it's still a contender. Millie, is it still a contender for you? That's okay if it is.
For me, yes.
Okay, so let's not kick it out. Southwest Cutoff, the gravel pits, is that a contender for us?
I think so.
Okay, ball fields are a first choice. White Cliffs Mansion, is that a contender for us?
I don't think so.
No.
After the last town meeting, I don't think so.
All right, so White Cliffs Mansion is not a contender. Okay, then we have the downtown. It sounds like some board members, that is a contender for some board members. It's okay if it is, okay. All right, so really, we've only kicked out White Cliffs. Millie, you looking at King Street, since that was something you wanted to keep on the board, on the table here. Was there something you had in mind that could go with that when you're looking at King Street, why that's appealing to you? I'm just wondering why that's still stuck out to you.
Well, if is it senior housing that's going up there, or the 88 units are
Assisted living.
assisted living, if they can count towards what we are looking to, towards our quota, why wouldn't we look at that?
So it won't be the units that count, it's the site. The
Right,
question is,
7
could
acres.
some- yeah.
It's overall 7 acres.
Right. If there's no imposed age restriction in the permit,
Right.
I mean, then you just smile and you keep going. I hate to say it, but I mean, there are just things we don't have answers for. So I think you can decide where you want to propose this, and we'll model it, and tell you what the caveats are, and we'll all just keep our ears open for when DHCD rolls out additional guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Best you can do.
Okay, so if we went with King Street, Millie, we're 16 acres short. Was there something else that appealed to you that would make up that difference, or?
I guess it would be on the gravel lot side. I can't remember what we were looking at.
Okay.
But you also had 10 acres if we did do the Harvey property. So now you're at, now you're down to 6.
There's also this, Anthony looked up the second part of Northborough Crossing is 19 acres. We could use that.
I wondered if there was land up there too.
You can use that 19 acres.
Does it have any frontage?
It's developed. It's the one with Anzio Pizza on it across from BJ's. But it's right.
Is it landlocked though? Is it part of the broader Northborough Crossing?
It was part 2. Like Northborough Crossing, the whole top part was part 1. And then the bottom part happened when I was on the board, was considered phase 2, and it was owned by a different company.
Yeah, there's also that I don't know, it used to be Creative Catering. It's right on that intersection.
Right.
I don't know how big that lot is, but that's been up for sale for years.
Right. So you could do right there.
What are you talking about?
There used to be Creative Catering. It was a house. I think it might be used pickup trucks now or something.
Okay, yeah. So that's a separate parcel.
Right. I don't know how big that is, but.
Yeah.
So you could get 25 acres right there with Northborough Crossing 2. And then, I don't know. I would assume it has frontage. It's off of the road.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, then,
Or you could you use like Northborough Crossing 2, which Anthony said was 19 acres, and then do like 5 acres of the Harvey parcel. So that way you could have housing on 5 acres of it, and then have the other half of the Harvey parcel be mixed use or restaurants. So you don't, so could you split that parcel so it's not all housing? And then we would get some housing, 5 times 10 or 15, but then you would also get some commercial mixed use. And then that would incentivize like a developer to say, well, now I've got to develop the other half commercial because they're going to allow me to do one half housing.
interesting.
That way you kind of force their hand versus giving them the whole parcel available for housing, because that's what they choose to do.
But they would be able to use that 5 acres, if you will, for housing.
Yeah.
Independent of whatever or what they decide to do with the other half.
The other 5.
They could develop or not.
Yep.
Yeah. But maybe if they did put the housing on the 5 acres and people had the other half is commercial, then they might want to build something commercial to go with the housing. I feel like if the whole property is housing, we're not going to get anything commercial.
And that's a concern. I do agree.
But I'd be willing to make a, half and half. And then the other, if it's 5 acres, then you do the 19 acres that are Northborough Crossing too, and then we're done. And they can't develop on that one for a while because there's a restaurant there. Unless they wanted to. I mean, anyone could take that whole parking lot and put an apartment on it.
Thoughts on that? So that actually takes the 19 acres over at Avalon, plus 5 acres at Harvey. And then the ball fields.
I think that's worth considering.
And if we did 5 on Harvey, could you include the old town hall too? Because they're attached, they're contiguous. Because I don't think the old town hall would be bad, you know, to be.
No.
Would that, if it's just right there, would that be helpful to add that? So we're over the 5, we're not right at the minimum, or it doesn't matter?
Yeah, no, it's probably a good idea. The only question I have is who, does the town still own that property?
The town hall.
Yeah, the old town hall.
She's talking about the existing town hall.
Or town hall.
Oh,
Yeah.
so we'll have to kind of explain it because that's an example of a use that they're saying, you
Municipal.
know, not be eligible. So we'd have to explain that actually the town is planning to build another town hall and therefore this site would be eligible for disposition. We would have to make that case.
Okay, well, worst case, they say no, and we still have 5 acres at Harvey. We're over. I mean, if we did that, not 1.92, it's over anyway.
And now can people look at it and then email Lori what their ideas are and maybe, I don't know.
Well, the challenge is I need consensus because Judy needs to go ahead and do this exercise and complete it by June 30th to meet the grant deadline. So it's going to be hard if you're all emailing me different ideas and then I don't have consensus, and I don't want to violate the open meeting law.
So for me, I mean, I'm willing to concede on that. My first choice was really just 0 southwest cutoff at the gravel pits because it's an easy 23.62 and it fits. Although the 19 I didn't realize was an option, so I guess you know that's I guess a possibility as well. How do we figure? Do we know for sure that's a possibility though?
I'm looking at the GIS right now, and I have no idea what parcel you're talking about. So that's a challenge.
It's where Leah's is and Jimmy John's, that parking lot up there.
That doesn't help
So
me.
you know where
Maybe what I can do is share my screen, and you can kind of direct me.
Might be helpful.
I can help you, Lori.
right
Is
there where
this
your
what
mouse
you're
was.
talking about this one right here?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yep, that's it.
Okay, we're gonna have to make sure that it has frontage,
It
right?
has a, it
It
only,
can't be landlocked.
it only has a little bit of frontage down at Route 20 by the light. Right there.
56
To
feet.
the right.
This
Yep,
right here.
56 feet. That Southwest Shops Way is not a town road or a public street. Doesn't generate frontage.
Oh,
So that's a problem. I would think that you would want to include this.
Then how did they get frontage to build the
Building.
buildings that are there now?
That was gonna be my question too.
If it's part of the shopping center,
Yeah.
then they would get their frontage probably over there. If it's the same
Oh.
development.
I
It
see.
is. It was always part of that whole development. It just was a secondary phase.
I see.
And then Avalon was a comprehensive permit.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 2 acres.
That's actually, isn't that the, what's there now?
Landscaping yard.
Yeah, the stone.
Oh, yeah,
retaining
okay, that's
wall.
what I thought. Yeah,
But and why is 56? Well, how much do we need for frontage? Well, how come that's a problem?
What is it, 200 feet?
Yeah, but
Oh,
you
yeah.
could write an overlay district, Laura. I mean, you could set the frontage that you want in the overlay district.
Yeah, that's true. How about this access easement though? Is that going to be a problem?
Yeah, I was going to say accessing that, would be a huge issue at that light. That light's already busy enough as is. Adding in another driveway for a high density housing complex.
I
We're
think
asking
that,
for trouble.
I think that access easement was an agreement between the people who own the Northborough Crossing 2 section and the guy who owns that piece that's a triangle shape there with the natural landscaper is that they wanted access so they could get access over to the light by Starbucks. There's they were blocked out when those lights went in. Their access was limited to right turn in and right turn out only onto Southwest Cutoff for that 2-acre triangular piece.
Can you go down just a little bit further on that, Lori? Keep going down where, oh, so that is the intersection. Oh, that is the piece I was asking about, that 2-acre piece. Okay,
That's where the natural landscaper is, and I think Creative Catering was there many years ago.
that is the piece I was asking about then. Okay.
What about actually in front of the ball fields? How many
It's
acres
actually
is
for
that
sale.
medical building on?
Oh, we're already including that. This area right here brings you to the 27 acres.
Oh, okay. What's the property next door? Right to the top of it.
We could probably add this triangular piece.
That's why can't we
That
add
would
the
be
triangle?
contiguous.
Yeah,
So that would be one district. So that would give us 29 acres.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Why can't we add that to the others?
And what's over to the side there of the medical building? I think Amy was just asking about, oh, you weren't asking about that, Amy, to the side. Or you
Yeah,
were?
it was. There's like a big, long, curvy driveway.
Like right next to that. What's that?
Cell
That's a
tower.
cell tower,
Oh,
and
Can
the
you use
dentist
that?
office. The dentist office is in front, right on Route 20,
Mm.
and then the cell tower. That's a driveway to the cell tower in the back on the other side of the brook.
Can you use that too?
They
How
may
many,
need to.
how many acres is that?
6.45.
I mean, at that point, isn't the gravel pit right across the street? Like, aren't we already, or is that not true?
I think there's a car dealership, a used
Oh,
car
the
dealership
dealership.
there.
You're right. Mhm.
That's another 4.
I just think if you use the gravel pit, it is going to be done soon. So you're taking the chance that they're actually going to build there in there.
Right.
I agree.
It
I think that's
depends
why
on
downtown. I think
depends on
that's
how
why
much.
downtown. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Depends on how much housing we really want. I think the gravel pit people have made a ton of money and they're gonna get the MBTA overlay and be like, golden, now we're done. And we're gonna sell to a developer and build 15 units per acre. And I think we're trying to not be hit with too much housing all at once.
Okay, so
I-
then going back to the frontage question. So is there a true problem with the frontage on where we have the 19 acres? Because that seemed to work out a little bit. Is there an actual problem there with whether easement or otherwise, or no?
And I
Oh,
am a little nervous.
we-
Do you think they'll build apartments there?
Oh, so that was a problem. We wondered.
Yeah, if they
so-
actually build the apartments there, how are they going to be able to get out onto Route 20? That's the only place out right into that major intersection.
Can't they go out like where the people go out now, out onto Shops Way Drive?
You're removing it from Shops Way, so there's no guarantee that they have to allow them access onto Shops Way.
Shops Way is a private road, it's private property. It belongs to the developer.
Right.
But if we included that triangle that's highlighted in the front, then you've got plenty of access.
The access is only right turn in and right turn out.
But that could be changed, right? That's just part of a
No.
special permit.
Well, it's the state.
No, it's the state. The state mandated it that way when the signals went in towards the ramps and then again in front of Shops Way and the ball fields.
and still include it, and then we cross that bridge when we get to it. Do you think?
There's also that this has to be approved, right? They may not approve it with that condition that is a right turn in, right turn out only.
Right, but they might approve it with that 56 right next door to the other driveway. I don't know.
If we did,
Now, can it change? Like, say you pick a location, and then a year or two later down the road, you say, you know what, that wasn't the best location. Like, I'm thinking like the gravel pit, or can you change it?
Well, you'd have to rezone another area.
Yep.
okay, if we took, so we have the ball fields plus the dentist is 28.3, is that right? Yep, 28.3. Plus if we get 2 from that little triangle there, is that what we're thinking?
So if we did this parcel, and this parcel, we come up to 35.45 acres, thereabouts.
Then you do the 5 at Harvey, all right, 40 plus 2 from the town hall,
And then if we add King Street, do we hit it?
or we had 56. Hudson, is that 2 more?
Is
You may
Hudson
not-
contiguous?
You also may not get the whole of that highlighted parcel, the green one, because it looks like there's wetlands in there on the backside.
There are. If you want me to move to the Harvey?
Sure. Oh, I shouldn't talk for everybody.
It always does that. Makes me crazy. All right, so this is the town hall. This is the Harvey property. This is 56 Hudson. That's 1.71 acres. So the town hall property is 1.92. This one's 10. This one's 1.71. We're going to lose some because of the river. That gives us 13.63. So we're still a little shy. This is that 13-acre parcel across the street that's currently parking. Oh, sorry, it's 14.23 acres.
I bet he would want to develop that. He's been developing a lot over there. You know, he could cut off his parking lot and just develop the back.
Or maybe we would include a portion of this area in the overlay, but not all of it.
I think that one is pretty steep slope. If you turn on the topo, it's pretty, it goes up pretty dramatic there, doesn't it?
It does.
But wasn't Avalon, that's pretty steep too, that whole Northborough crossing.
Well, yeah, but they had 150 acres in order to work the grades. You don't have that much area there. It goes up pretty sharp in a fairly small, narrow section.
Does that mean it wouldn't count, Judy, or because of the grade, or could you count it?
It's not, the model doesn't account for grade. It discounts as for purposes of adjusting the density. It discounts wetlands as defined by Mass GIS, not field defined. What Mass GIS says is wetland, what Mass GIS says is a Title V setback. But it doesn't discount for slope. There's no slope adjustment. It's not a build-out model.
So looking at that, Fred, you don't think they could put too much there?
Well, it would be extremely tough to develop. It doesn't, I mean, if what Judy's saying is correct, then you put it on there and it's not likely to be built out right away. It's almost as if it was all developed because there are other parcels that would be more attractive than that for developers.
Why, what are you thinking, Amy?
Well, if it's not really developable, then I'd pick it. Just trying to minimize, you know, how much, like all these towns were giving 750 units. We had 750 units. We're really, I forget how many that adds. How many do we have? 58 houses right now, 5,800 units.
I forget, Amy. I don't
Yeah.
have those numbers in front of me. I
But also
apologize.
remember, there's no, deadline for build out. So, I mean, that could be 100 years in the future.
Yeah. But if we had 750 units that were easily built, that would, our housing would go up 13%. So I'm just trying to pick lots that aren't easily buildable. So like the baseball field would be, but the other ones aren't. Because I don't think we could, accommodate 750 new homes at once or apartments.
I like that piece.
Yeah, if it's hard to develop,
Mhm.
I would pick it.
So do you want to include maybe half of it?
What are the other pieces people are thinking?
So it'd be the town hall, the Harvey piece, but that would be 10 acres.
I wouldn't do the whole Harvey. I still am not a fan of a whole Harvey. I do half. I like Amy's idea of make it half residential, half do something else.
Mhm.
The only challenge is we'd have to make it contiguous.
Well, we could remove the town hall because that's going to be questionable anyways. We're still in committee as to what we're going to do with both buildings. So
Okay,
that's still up in the air.
so we do half of this piece, and then all of this piece?
I think so.
Okay.
What does that come out to?
So
You can see all the dumpsters at Harvey right now from this overview. Look at all those dumpsters.
Yeah.
So it would be 14.23. $34.65 acres.
And we don't need that much, right? We
No,
only need.
we need some wiggle room because of the river
Yeah.
and the wetlands on the other piece. So we'd be a little bit shy, about 1 acre shy, plus we wouldn't have wiggle room.
Oh, if we didn't do the whole thing, if we didn't do that whole lot?
Yeah, I mean, we might have to add some more of the Harvey in. So maybe it's not all 10 acres, maybe it'd be 7 acres.
I just
But
don't,
having
I don't
a car
like.
dealership over back on Route 20 on Southwest Cutoff.
You want to go back to that one?
Sorry to have you go back. But across from the dentist office, there's a used car dealership there that's like 2 or 3 acres.
Yeah.
Right.
2 zoomed out.
You're right there. Right there.
This one?
Right where your mouse is. Yep. What is that? That's 4 acres right there.
Is it continuous?
We're doing the dentist office, yes.
Oh, yeah, I see.
So that's 4, you said?
Yep.
So we have that 4. The dentist is 6. We don't know what the wetlands in the back. So is there a way we can see how much area that's, so Judy mentioned it's according to GIS of wetland. So do we have a view where we could see what that cuts out or no?
There would be 39.63 acres. I'm gonna take the topography off because it's really busy.
What about that lot with BJ's Gas on it that is next to the car lot?
So you can see the wetlands now.
Okay. But we don't know how much area that's taking up.
No,
Okay, so that is 20, so that, wait, how, that one is the,
that would be 39.63 acres. So this parcel, oh, stinking. This one, and the triangle.
that equals 39.63?
Yes,
And that doesn't include downtown, you're just talking about right here?
right.
How much is that BJ's gas station next to the car lot? So then go,
That's part of a much bigger parcel that goes up
Yeah,
to the top of the hill.
That's
Oh.
the whole shopping center.
Okay.
oh,
Okay, so we have 39.63 in this area, understanding we got the problem with the wetlands.
And then if you do the 56 Hudson, the parking lot parcel and half of the Harvey parcel, that should give the wiggle room.
Or we do King Street, we haven't put King Street in the mix, which is already being developed as such. So if we had 39.63 plus 7.75, we're up to 47.38. Obviously, we have the wetlands, so that then what would we take? Then if
Then
we
just take the steep grade parking lot. That's 13 or 14.
We're gonna lose some on the King Street because of wetlands.
Okay, so even if we did, we're way over with,
We'd be way over though with the other 14.
Oh, so you would include the Harvey, so the downtown and the
Parking
King
lot.
Street?
no, just the parking lot. So it'd be
Just the parking
39,
lot.
yeah, it'd be 39.63 from the Avalon area, plus King Street is 7.75, plus just the parking lot.
So we wouldn't include any of the Harvey parcel? Because
No.
remember, the downtown plan includes multifamily development. It would be mixed use, multifamily. Most of the multifamily would be there with limited commercial on that Harvey piece. So that's the plan.
We can still zone that, but at least we have options at that point. Right? It's not part of the MBTA communities. We can still, so we could zone it to be, multi-use and require the multi-use.
Oh, then
But
we
we'd get grant money.
Right.
It'd be included as part of the 3A.
Well,
So
but it's still options, right? It still gives us more options than being stuck doing the MBTA communities, right? This gets us out of the MBTA communities, and then we can concentrate on, the downtown revitalization and doing that the way we want to do it.
But then I'm not gonna have access to that grant money. That's my concern.
For the downtown.
How am I gonna pay for the downtown revitalization?
what if we get rid of the Henry's car on this, that's next to the BJ's Gas, and then use 4 or 5 acres of Harvey?
Or
Get
what
rid-
if we only do half of the parking lot? What if we do half and half? 7 from the parking lot and 5 from Harvey?
Yep.
I mean, we could do all of the parking lot and 5 from Harvey.
But
Yeah,
why overshoot it by so much?
We don't know how much the wetlands is, and we don't know how much the wetlands might be on King.
Carrie, I'd
we do?
almost rather have a little too much land to work with and be able to cut it back for you.
Oh, we can cut it back if we need to?
I'm just saying, you only have to have a district that's at least 50 acres. You know, without those sort of natural impediments. 15 units an acre. And a district where, you know, any non-contiguous pieces are at least 5 acres, and the total volume or the total zoned capacity of the pieces is 750 units. So those are the check boxes we have to hit. 750 units of zoned capacity, 50 acres at least, you know, in the district, and nothing that's less than 5 acres in terms of non-contiguous areas. I would almost rather say, give us a little bit more land to work with, because we'll be the first people to tell you, you don't need this much.
Okay.
And I was
And then
thinking,
you'll have a different decision to make.
if we have way too much too, we could take off the Henry's car over here. It's 4 acres, but that's probably buildable. Like that's 60 units right there. Like where maybe the Harvey would be slower to develop. Half a Harvey.
Right. Yeah,
And
but
we,
again, it gives us options.
yeah,
So I'm clear and Judy's clear. So the final decision on the analysis that Judy's gonna do is the parking lot parcel on Hudson. The 56 Hudson, which is that, I think it's the 1.71 acres. 5 acres of Harvey. And then Judy, can you expand? I know you already analyzed the southwest cutoff.
Yeah.
Would you be able to expand to include those couple of additional parcels or no?
Yeah, we'll do it.
Okay. So then in this area here, we're talking about the used car lot, the dentist, and then adding the triangular piece. So 3 additional parcels to the analysis that was already done.
And I guess, Judy, to save you the work, if it's extra work, if you find out the wetlands we've already covered, then maybe it is that used car lot that you just say, don't even bother. If I don't know, does that make sense to the board or no? Or is it better to, I don't want you to do extra work, so.
right. I think so, because that would be 60 more units on that used car lot, and that looks pretty easy to develop. Like if I owned a used car lot and I heard, well, I can build 60 apartments or sell it to someone, I'd be like, you know, excited.
So Lori, you know what would be really helpful to us? Just email us tomorrow the parcel IDs, so we're sure we've got the right parcels. And if there is sort of an order of priority here, like say what, you know, Carrie's saying, we sort of hit pay dirt with a certain combination and maybe we don't need to model the others, just let us know if there's a particular order you want us to follow.
Okay.
All right. So Lori, I'm going to ask MHP if they'll give a modest extension on this grant, just so we can get this done for you. You know, as I'm sure you guys can imagine, you're not the only town that's trying to finish this work. So I'm sure they'll give us a modest extension, but we can talk about that later. All right.
Thank you, Judy.
Hey,
Thank you.
thank you. I
And
know
Lauren.
this is hard. I do. I understand. Really, I do.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Listen,
Thank
I
you
hope
very
have a
much.
nice rest of the evening.
Hope you feel better.
Yeah, I'll be fine. All right. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Judy.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we have that. Going to old business. I think this is just an old item. Did we elected our officers already, I think? Didn't we?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Oh, okay. Well, good, then we'll do that. Let's start with the plan. Oh, do we do our election of officers, but not our subcommittees? Do we do our subcommittees too?
We didn't.
We haven't done anything? Okay. Okay, well, we'll start from the beginning. For planning board chair, is there anybody interested in being planning board chair? And I am completely okay with not being if anybody is interested in being the chair. So don't feel like that is something that I have to continue on with. Does anybody have interest in this?
No, thanks.
Letting roll.
The question is, do you?
I
I
nominate
don't-
Carrie Martinek to be planning board chair.
I second.
All in favor? Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
carries an aye. For vice chair, currently that's Amy.
And if
Amy,
anybody else wants to try it, they can.
would anyone else like to try vice chair?
I usually try to cancel the meeting if Carrie can't make it.
I nominate Amy to be vice chair for planning board.
Second.
All in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
carries an aye. Okay, we actually don't usually ever have a clerk, or do we? I don't think so. Do we have one on the books? I don't think we do. Okay, so for our committees, we have, let's see. Bill, what are you in now? Open space?
Open space, yep.
Okay, so Bill's in open space. Amy, you're design review right now. Millie, you're in CPC.
Yep.
Anthony, you're in groundwater.
Correct.
And I'm on CMRPC. What am I missing on this list? Are we short one? Did someone have two?
Master plan,
Got MPIC.
Oh, okay. And we have do we have a traffic committee? Bill, are you on there as a resident or a planning board rep?
No, I was on there as a planning board, but they're done. They're going to present probably in the next couple meetings, selectmen meetings.
Okay. And then master plan is currently, Millie, wait, historical? No, that's a separate committee, not a planning board appointment. Millie, you're a planning board rep on MPIC, or is that Amy? Oh,
That's
Amy.
Amy.
Okay,
Millie is through historical.
that's right. Okay. Other appointments we have that we don't necessarily appoint ourselves to, we have the earthwork board, but that's not something we appoint ourselves to typically, and then finance. But that comes up usually separately. So am I missing one? I still feel like I am.
How long is groundwater going to continue since it was voted away at town meeting? Doesn't that end after town meeting?
I think it's up to the AG. It's got to get approved.
the challenge is, of course, the staffing of the committee, which Fred is the staff, but he's retiring at the end of June.
Doesn't the bylaw go into effect after town meeting unless you hear otherwise, it's the bylaw?
Well, the problem with that is that if the committee doesn't meet and make a recommendation and a project goes to the SPGA that gets appealed, it might appear as the town didn't follow its own process because technically it wasn't approved yet. So I've been asking the committee to keep on meeting until we hear from the AG's office, or unless town council tells us not to. So we had a meeting in May for a project that went before the ZBA. We're going to try to schedule a meeting next week for the ones coming up with the ZBA, unless the town council tells me that it's not necessary or appropriate to do. But my feeling is that it leaves us open to appeal if they were to approve and something gets appealed, or even deny and something gets appealed. Either way.
Have we asked him? So for when you leave, we're not in that jam. I mean, obviously it's fine now with you here, but.
I have asked them, but I hadn't heard back yet, because when we had the discussion before the last meeting, we thought there was a reason that the applicant might have to add something else and re-advertise, but then it turned out he didn't. So I had them meet and make a recommendation. It was a pretty straightforward project anyway. So, but I've asked him again to kind of
Okay.
visit that and let me know.
Okay. And Lori, what's the timing typically, or I don't know if does anybody know the timing we usually hear back from the AG's office? I can't remember.
think it's after summer normally, isn't it?
Yes.
It's
September,
typically
October.
end of
Yeah.
August or early September. I think last year there was one of the articles came in October.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's have a discussion about our committees. Does anybody, so groundwater won't be going on for long, so should we, that's a short-term appointment. Does everybody like their current assignments, interested in other stuff? I will say for CMRPC, I have really enjoyed that, and I would almost recommend someone else for it at this point, as I've kind of experienced it, been a part of it. I don't know if anybody else is interested in it. It's been really great to hear about what's going on in the region and make those contacts and try to figure out like good resources. And when it comes to traffic, like we had all that traffic stuff that went on, any sort of grants, the DLTA grants, things like that. I don't know if
When
anybody
are
else-
those meetings, Carrie? I don't recall.
So there are quarterly meetings that they run, and then there's also like, so for example, this month's the annual meeting, so that's usually in June, there's the annual meeting, then they have quarterly meetings, but then if you're on a committee, those could be like a monthly, assuming you join one of the committees, which you don't really have to join any of the committees. The executive committee meets monthly, but you don't have to join that either, so it sort of depends on what you want the experience to be, so.
But are they determined quarterly meetings on certain days, or are they as announced? Because that,
No, I feel like there's a schedule. It's usually, it seems, I'd have to double check. I'd have to look back at that. Why, are you thinking availability wise, just with?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so far it's been virtual. There's a virtual option, so it's been a hybrid, so it's been pretty easy. The downside, not downside, but you travel into Worcester if you don't want to go in person. So it's down in the Worcester building there. Well, let me see if I can just take a quick scan at quarterly meetings for that.
I would have trouble with like Monday night meetings and obviously Tuesday night meetings.
Yeah. Let's see, what was so the January quarterly meeting was January 12th. Let's see if there's a pattern here. So the second Thursday.
Oh.
November quarterly meeting was Thursday, November 10th.
Okay.
It looks like the second Thursday. Let's see.
Yeah, Thursdays are good for me because I mean, those were when CPC would have been.
September 8th quarterly meeting, so second Thursday. It looks like the pattern is the second Thursday of the month. March was March 10th. So what was March 10th? What, is that a Friday? How could that be? No, that was 2022, sorry. So it looks like it's pretty much the second Thursday of the month for the most part. Just looking back in history here.
And but that's not every month. It's quarterly plus if you are on a committee, right?
Yeah, quarterly, and committees aren't required. I was interested in the executive committee, so I did that. I enjoyed it. It was a nice experience. But if you can't do monthly, then that's probably not a good thing for you to do. Julianne is the current, unless the BOS reorganized their committees. Julianne Hirsch is the Board of Selectmen delegate. So there's a planning board delegate and a Board of Selectmen delegate. There's also an alternate that we've never used too. So if there are more than one person interested, we could always have an alternate that if Millie can't go, or say you wanted to do it, if you didn't want to, it'll be the alternate too.
Well, if somebody, I mean, I've enjoyed CPC, I'd be happy to continue to do it. But if somebody wants it, then I'd be interested in CMRPC.
Okay. Does anybody, Anthony, how are you feeling like coming off of groundwater, most likely?
I don't have a preference. I've served on almost all the committees.
I was gonna say, you did CPC before, right?
Yep, and open space.
Okay.
I have two, so when he comes off the groundwater, he could have MPIC. He probably doesn't want design review because it's during the day. But if you wanted MPIC, once groundwater was done, you could have it, Anthony.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, you can think about it.
Yeah,
Bill, how you feeling about open space?
I mean, Anthony, even if you want open space, you know, I could move over to master plan.
Up to you guys.
Anthony, you're not interested in master plan, are you?
I'm not.
Okay. I know that body language by now, so.
I think whoever goes to master plan, we should finish, like, because I think this part of master plan is going to be done in like a month, right? Or two.
yep.
So I
Downtown.
wouldn't mind finishing it and then handing it off to the next phase.
And Bill, you're interested in master plan?
Yeah,
Okay. Is there anything else you're interested in, Anthony, or no? Or you want to just take some, I mean, you don't, if everybody likes their assignments as is, well, actually, we need an open space. Are you interested in open space or you're done with open space?
No, I like open space.
Okay.
But
Would you want to
I-
take? Go
I
ahead.
just, yeah, I will stay where I'm at, and if somebody wants to do this, then I'll swap out with somebody. I don't.
Oh,
No,
because he'll have groundwater till the fall.
right.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So maybe in the fall, he can move to open space and Bill can move to master plan because the master plan should be done by then too. Not the whole master plan,
No,
but
phase,
the phase that it's in.
yeah.
and open space hasn't met in 6 months, so
Okay, so if that's the case, Bill, do you mind a dual appointment? If you had open space and then master plan after the next couple months, or?
yeah, I can do that. And then, you know, once Anthony comes off of groundwater, if he wants open space, it'll be his.
Okay, does that sound okay?
Are they going to do another traffic and safety? Is that going to be?
The traffic safety is going to be presenting to the Board of Selectmen in either the next meeting or the one after that. We will have an appointment. Everything. If the Board of Selectmen approves, we will have an appointment into one appointment into traffic safety. But it can be either one of us or a member of the community.
Okay. Amy, you noticed I didn't give you a choice to see if you still like design review, but you certainly do have a choice.
Yeah, no, I don't mind. I've only done it. Was it a year now?
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I'm just starting to get the hang of it.
All right, Millie, would you want to be alternate on CMRPC, and then you could like get all the notifications and just see like what actually works out for you, and then maybe it's something.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd be up for that.
Okay. So sounds like the plan is, Bill, you're gonna do just a short-term dual appointment to open space and master plan. Anthony, you're gonna stick in groundwater, but then take open space when groundwater dissolves.
Sounds good.
Amy, you're sticking with design review. I'll stick with CMRPC as the delegate, but Millie, you're the alternate delegate, and Billy, you get invited and you can participate in all the same things, except I don't think you could be appointed to like a committee. I'm not sure, but that's okay with you. Okay. And then otherwise you keep CPC.
Yep.
Was I going to finish my master plan? So,
And you're going to finish out master plan for the next 2 months, it sounds like.
yeah, whenever it ends, like we're just wrapping up.
Okay.
Lori must know. I think there's another community meeting coming up.
The 20th, June 20th, I think, is the next community meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as you wrap up, then Bill will do the master plan.
Yep.
Okay. Does that work, Lori?
It does.
Okay. So that's great. We have that all taken care of. Any A&R lot releases, bonds?
None.
Okay. Any subcommittee updates?
No.
Okay, for me, just as I mentioned, CMRPC has the annual meeting tomorrow, no, Thursday night, at actually Southwick Zoo. So that's exciting. And Julianne is once again on the north, she's a Northeast rep on the executive committee on the ballot for that. So that'll be nice. Lori, you sent out minutes. Anything else? No other subcommittee updates? Okay, so we have minutes for March 21st. I'm sorry, I didn't read the May 2nd minutes. Did we
not.
Did we get May 2nd as
No.
well?
I believe so.
Yes, I emailed those yesterday, I believe.
Okay, so sorry, I didn't read them yet. Does anybody, did anyone read the May 2nd minutes? Can we table May 2nd?
I did not read them.
Okay, for March 21st, we have some proposed amendments in this. Did everyone get a chance to look at March 21st?
Yep.
Are there any additional amendments or comments to the amendments that were proposed? Okay, a motion to approve the March 21st minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second,
Second,
all in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Millie,
aye.
carries an aye. Okay, we are no longer having our June 20th planning board meeting. We covered all our business for the month tonight. So thank you for everybody getting that taken care of. What we do need to figure out is our summer schedule for July and August. So Lori, I know you sent us some dates that are not available for you. And this might be a little tricky to come out with. Lori, as far as July goes, at this point, are there any public hearings that are possible for July?
We don't have any filings as of yet. That doesn't mean that we won't get any. But right now I don't have anything.
Okay, so if someone came in tomorrow with an application, would they be eligible for July?
Yeah, so right now is June 6th. So of course we wouldn't want to schedule it for the 4th of July anyway. But we would be okay if we went forward with say the 11th or the 18th. Of course, I have ZBA on the 25th.
The 8th would normally be reserved for the groundwater committee if they're going to meet.
Okay. So we have some vacation so let's look at July 1st. And not the date, but in sequential order. So July, it seems like it's going to be hard enough to come up with one meeting. So should we just try to focus on picking one date in July? Do we think that's adequate for July?
I think so.
Sure.
Okay. And Fred, you said that July 8th?
Well, normally the second Tuesday of the month would be groundwater. So
okay.
whatever that is, if the first Tuesday is the 4th, then it'd be the 11th.
We just do the
Oh.
18th.
The
So
18th would be the
yes.
normal third Tuesday of the month reserved for the planning board.
Okay. Can everybody make the 18th? And Lori, I'm just looking at your schedule. That looks good for Lori. Although Lori, feel free to speak for yourself. I'm just looking at your email.
Yeah, that works for me.
Lori hired me as her admin since the last.
I appreciate it. You can serve in that role whenever you want to.
The 18th. Now, there's no Tuesday in July that I can do. So you guys will, the 18th is fine. You may as well do it. Amy, you'll be in charge.
I know. I guess I shouldn't have taken that position.
Yeah. Yep. Suddenly you're busy, right?
Right. I'm okay to do it, but it may be messy. Be ready. It won't be like Carrie's meeting. It'll be.
You'll do fine.
You'll love it. Okay. So July 18th. Planning board meeting. Okay. August. Let's see. That would be if we're talking, so August 1st is a Tuesday, is the first Tuesday. So August 1st And the 15th does not work for Lori. So this is a weird month in that there are 5 Tuesdays of the month. So is there any, it just seems like August 1st comes pretty quickly after July 18th, if that matters. Would it be possible to do, well, first of all, what works for board members? Any Tuesdays that work or don't?
In July.
We're in August. So July, we're going to do July
Right.
18th. So now August, we just need our date.
I cannot do the 22nd.
Okay.
I can do pretty much any Tuesday.
Okay. Any other, Anthony, anything that you see on the book?
No.
Okay. So the 15th and 22nd are out. I mean, August 1st seems to be fine with everybody. I just wonder if it's too close to the July meeting. Maybe that doesn't matter, whether it's August 1st or August 8th. I don't even know if the 8th is an option. Sounds like that would ordinarily be the groundwater meeting. Should we just keep it our normal August 1st? Is that
Okay.
Yeah.
okay? So the next 2 planning board dates will be July 18th and then August 1st.
First.
We'll probably have to be moving along with that MBTA thing anyways. If we're gonna get done by the end of the year.
Okay. And then the upcoming, MPIC, it's June 15th. I'm sorry. I thought it was the 20th. Is it really the 15th? Oh, that was the downtown
Just
community.
a regular meeting. The
Got it. Okay.
community meeting is the other one.
Okay. So the community means the 20th. Is there anything to announce for that, Lori, in terms of location or anything we want to share with the public on that one?
I haven't gotten the flyer yet, so I'm not sure if the start time is going to be 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. I expect the flyer tomorrow.
Okay.
But it's going to be held at the Algonquin High School Library. Unfortunately, the public library was booked for that evening, so I had to go back to the high school. So it'll be the same. We'll be serving light refreshments. And it should be a very interesting event. So I hope that people will come and share their thoughts.
Well, I hope parking's okay over there. I'm sure it will be, but if anybody's been by the high school, they've already started construction on the 5th. The tennis courts were just ripped up today. They're really moving fast over there. So they got to work right away over there. Okay, and next ZBA meeting is on the 27th, and we already saw the applications for that coming up. We have our memo going out, and then I think that's about it. Is there any other business?
We have to say goodbye to Fred.
Oh, Fred. We should have done a cake or something, or
A virtual cake?
Right.
do you have any departing words of wisdom?
No, just good luck.
We'll need it.
What's been your favorite meeting over the years? Was it the one were the meetings that ended at midnight, or?
Well, those meetings that we had for the agricultural use up on Whitney Street were fun. Lots of attendees. Oh, if you go way back, we did Stop and Shop right next door where the Harvey site is. That went on forever and ever and ever. So that was fun.
And the other one, that's SA Farms when it first started.
Yeah, that was really exciting.
And it's still going on to this day.
Well, it's been quiet lately, so let's not jinx it.
What will you do with the first and third Tuesdays of each month?
I'm
Watch
going
us.
to
He'll be watching us.
Be watching, Colin.
Yep, he'll have his hand up, I'm sure.
I'll be busy, I think. I'll be busy.
And if we have to phone a friend from our meetings, can we call you? Do we have your
Sure. Lori knows how to
lifeline.
get in touch with me.
He's gonna be.
Always happy to be a resource.
Oh, well, we'll miss you. You've certainly been such an important part of all our meetings, and you'll be missed.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's been fun. It really has. It really has been a pleasure to work here in Northborough for all these years. So it's, but it's time to do something different.
That's exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
Excited for you.
Thank you. All right.
All right. Well, if there's no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
moved.
Did someone second that?
Oh, second.
Okay, all in favor, Bill?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Anthony?
Hi.
Billy?
Aye.
Gary's an aye. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.